Chapter 109. You, despicable and shameless. Upon hearing Su Yi's words, Ian immediately reprimanded him. However, he could not help but take out the interspatial bag. You two beautiful young ladies will only know what true despicability and shamelessness is if you land in the hands of those people. Su Yi curled his lips. He had not done anything. So how did he become despicable and shameless? H equals G. For you. Bai Ling gritted her teeth and threw the interspatial bag in her hand to Su Yi. She refused to believe Su Yi's words. The adventurer team was definitely not with the youth. On the contrary, the adventurer team probably had a vendetta with the rascal. Both parties were being used. For you. Ian did not hesitate, as though he was afraid that the punk would hand him over to the adventurer team. He immediately threw the interspatial bag in his hand to Su Yi. After receiving the two girls' interspatial bags, Su Yi smiled in satisfaction. He did not stand on ceremony and kept them. He picked up the treasured swords that Gui Yin and company had dropped. It was obvious that the three treasured swords were extraordinary. They were probably worth quite a bit, so Su Yi did not plan on letting them go. Gui Yin and Zhou De stared blankly at the scene before their very eyes, their eyes blazing with anger. However, they were helpless at that moment. They were so severely injured that they no longer had the strength to continue fighting. Even getting up was difficult for them. Without food or clothes, the enemy will deliver them to us. Without guns or cannons, the enemy will make them for us, even if the mountains are high and the waters are deep. Su Yi carried his saber and sang a tune. He was in a good mood. With a wave of his hand, he walked off, leaving the five people with a rather impactful back. What a special guy. He's just a little annoying, muttered Ian. Ian muttered to herself. That youth was different from anyone she had ever met. Senior Sister Bai Ling, were we robbed just now? Suddenly, Ian snapped out of his daze. He looked at Bai Ling with a blank look in his eyes. As Su Yi sang, he was in a good mood. He had gained quite a lot. Su Yi reckoned that there were many good things in the 5 interspatial bags, but he was not in a hurry to open them. The adventure team has already fought with those people. They should be the second group of people. Su Yi didn't let his guard down. He calculated in his mind that with the cultivation of the 5 youths, the first group of adventurers shouldn't have been able to cause them to be in such a sorry state. Therefore, they must have encountered the second group of adventurers and fought with them. After all, the large man at the second level of the profound origin stage that he had killed had fired a signal flare. We'll wait for them to come and attack them one by one. Let's play with them. Su Yi immediately had an idea. Based on the information he had received, there was nothing to worry about the adventurer team. Sure enough, at dusk, Su Yi saw the search team. When the 4 figures saw Su Yi, they were stunned for a moment before revealing a look of surprise. They immediately wanted to send out a signal flare. But just as the person who was about to send out the signal flare was about to take action, a sharp screeching sound came from the sky. Before the person could react, a terrifying gust of wind swept over, sending sand and rocks flying. Following that, his head was clawed into a bloody pulp. Ayo! A large snow-white ape appeared and smacked down with its gigantic palm, turning one of the people into a bloody pulp. 2 gigantic savage beasts appeared. Their auras were ferocious and terrifying. The remaining 2 people were constantly trembling. Their legs went limp and their eyes glazed over. They nearly collapsed to the ground. Chila, their figures moved like lightning, leaving behind a series of afterimages. Saber beams flashed as the 2 men's necks spewed out a bloody mist. Following that, their bodies collapsed to the ground. The 4 of them were very experienced. They had been licking the blood of their blades in the barbarian demon forest for many years. But even they couldn't withstand this sudden change. They were scared out of their wits by the sudden appearance of 2 gigantic savage beasts and were immediately killed. After wiping off the bloodstains on his saber, Su Yi glanced at the bloody corpses on the ground. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Since you can't forget about me, then from now on, I will take the initiative to attack. I will play with you guys a little bigger. 6 hours later, in the depths of the forest, 3 corpses were badly mutilated. Su Yi's saber was dripping with blood. His eyes raised a cold arc. The second day night. Tonight, the stars were bright and the moon was dim. Under the dim moonlight, the mountain range was gloomy. Bang! Bang, bang, bang. Between the mountain range, a muffled sound was transmitted. Soon after, several corpses were scattered all over the place. Blood was flowing everywhere. Their eyes were bulging out of their eye sockets. The last thing they saw in this world was that young man's face that was overflowing with killing intent. On the third day, the darkness before dawn had just passed. The first ray of light from the east had not completely passed. A beast's roar was like thunder, echoing throughout the canyon. Bang, bang, bang. The muffled sound of energy was transmitted, shaking the earth and the mountains. Soon after, many corpses were scattered on the ground. Fresh blood dyed the canyon red, carrying a bloody aura that did not dissipate for a long time. In a mysterious space, Su Yi sat cross-legged. The rich energy of heaven and earth fluctuated in the surroundings. It was as if strands of energy spirit snakes were drilling in and out of his body. In these 3 days, Su Yi had taken the initiative to attack. He had already killed 5 groups of adventurers, no less than 30 people. Among them, there was a 6th and 7th level of the Origin Profound Realm. They were also directly killed by the Snow Ape and Firebird. This baptism of slaughter and blood allowed Su Yi to improve a lot in actual combat. He became more proficient in the Mad Dragon's 3 blades, 7 wounds fist, and Scarlet Flame Palm. However, Su Yi was still unable to successfully cultivate the 3rd blade of the Mad Dragon's 3 blades. And this baptism of slaughter also caused the Origin Supreme technique in Su Yi's body to boil and surge. An inexplicable battle intent surged, and he became more battle-hungry. After every baptism of slaughter, Su Yi could clearly feel his improvement when he adjusted his breathing. The Origin Supreme technique in his body became more active, and in addition to being in this mysterious space, his improvement was huge. It was as if the Origin Supreme technique was born with the desire to kill and battle. Have you heard? Recently, Tao Tianqing is in a terrible fix. I don't know who he offended, but many of his men have been killed. His losses are disastrous. I heard about it too. It is said that many people are dissatisfied and have already left. All of this seems to be the work of a young man. It can't be. How could a young man kill so many of Tao Tianqing's men? You only know a little. I heard that the young man killed Tao Tianqing's younger brother. Tao Tianqing wanted to take revenge, but he didn't expect to meet a tough opponent and suffer heavy losses. I also heard that there's not only one young man, but many of them. No wonder. No matter how strong a young man is, it is impossible for him to kill so many of Tao Tianqing's men. I heard that the Black Fiend sect is offering a huge bounty for a young man. Could it be the same person? Don't say it is possible. If I meet him, I will be rich. Chapter 110. There were quite a few mercenary groups and adventure squads in the outskirts of barbaric demon forest. After the news spread, quite a few small mercenary groups and adventure squads were secretly on guard when they saw a young man. They didn't want to cause trouble. But there were also people who hoped that if that young man was the one wanted by the Black Fiend sect, then even if they brought the news to the Black Fiend sect, they would still be rich and would be heavily rewarded. Captain, we've lost a lot of people, and quite a few of our brothers have already left. We can't continue like this. Let's notify the Black Fiend sect. On the mountain peak, a lean man spoke to a gray-robed middle-aged man. His eyes flickered with light, and his aura was extraordinary. Exe, original first, Mr. Hare. He's taking the initiative to attack. That kid is provoking us. I'm going to personally capture that kid. Tao Tianqing, will make him beg for death. Only then will I be able to appease my hatred. The gray-robed middle-aged man was furious. His eyes flashed with a cold light and a touch of blood red. But Captain, we don't have many people left. If this continues, the entire team won't be able to protect themselves. The lean man's expression was grave. The entire adventure squad could be considered a power in this area and had a certain status. But now, they had already lost over half of their people, and quite a few of their brothers had already left. The entire adventure squad didn't have many people left. They couldn't afford any more losses. Hearing this, Tao Tiancheng's expression darkened. Tao Tiancheng had never imagined that the adventure squad he had worked so hard to raise would suffer such disastrous losses because of a kid who was still wet behind the ears. But the more it was like this, the more he couldn't endure it. Perhaps only by capturing that kid alive and handing him over to the Black Fiend sect would he be able to recoup all his losses. Notify the vice captain and have him come immediately. Since that kid is taking the initiative to cause trouble for us, then we'll do as he wishes. We'll pincer him. As long as he appears again, we'll make him a turtle in a jar. I want to see if that kid really has 3 heads and 6 arms. Tao Tiancheng's expression was grim. According to the information we received, that kid has quite a few helpers. They seem to have extraordinary backgrounds. Some of our people have already fought with him, but didn't gain much of an advantage. The lean man couldn't help but worry. Everything had already proved that the young man definitely had a background. If he provoked some big sect, it would be troublesome. So what if he has a background? This is the barbaric demon forest. Not to mention that it's extremely likely that the kid is someone the Black Fiend sect wants. As long as it's someone related to that kid, don't let a single one go. Search with all your might. Tao Tiancheng said solemnly. This was the barbarian demon forest and not the outside world. Only the Black Fiend sect and the other major powers were here. Captain! Captain! Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the bottom of the mountain, panting. What happened? The lean man took the lead and asked with a frown on his face. Now, he was afraid of getting the news. Every time he got the news, a group of people would be killed. We found the 5 youths who were with that youth. There was a huge battle, and those 5 youth have yet to recover from their injuries. It was difficult for them to contend against our people. However, they fled very quickly. Our people are chasing after them right now. The person panted as he spoke. Hearing this, the lean man's expression relaxed a little. After so many days, he finally heard some good news. Did you see that kid? Tao Tiancheng asked. No, only those 5 youths. The person shook his head and confirmed that there were only those 5 youths. The main youth with the strange appearance was not there. Deep in the forest, it was quiet and serene. But in the barbaric demon forest, no one would think that it was truly quiet and serene. Who knows, a ferocious beast might suddenly jump out from the side and devour people with lightning speed. A fat man in his 30s with a fierce face was in a very sorry state. His face was pale, and his body was covered in blood. There was even a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He was in a very sorry state as he shuttled through the forest. The fat man's gaze constantly looked behind him. When he saw a youth chasing after him, his face was filled with horror and fear. It was as if that youth was even more terrifying than a ferocious beast to him. Is there anyone? Come quickly, save me, save me. The fat man with a fierce face ran while shouting loudly, hoping that there would be someone nearby to save him. The youth was following behind him. He was wearing a tight, long gown, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. On his handsome face, there was a pair of deep and determined eyes. The most eye-catching thing was that the youth had a blade and a sword on his back, especially the broken sword, which was mottled and damaged. The youth was Sui. He had opened the space bags of Joda and the other 4 and found many cultivation resources. There were even a few scrolls of martial techniques. Among them, he also found a few clothes that fit him. Just now, he had found a few members of the mercenary group who were alone. Their cultivation levels were not high. The strongest was the fat man with a fierce face, who was only at the first level of the profound origin realm. He purposely did not kill him and let him escape. He wanted to take the opportunity to find the other members of the mercenary group. Anyway, with the snow ape and firebird in the dark, he had nothing to fear even if he encountered a large group of mercenaries. Save me! Save me! The fat man with a fierce face screamed continuously. He was in a sorry state, and his face was filled with fear. He had seen it with his own eyes. Although the youth had a smile on his face, He was in fact a god of death. He did not show any mercy when he attacked. Compared to people like him who licked blood from their blades every day, his attacks were even more efficient. Especially the youth's aura, which made his heart palpitate for no reason. It gave him an indescribable feeling of horror. This person definitely did not expect that he, who was at the first level of the profound origin realm, would one day be chased to such a state by a 7th level essence soul realm cultivator. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure emerged from the dense forest in front of him. The figure seemed to be fleeing at a fast speed. When she saw someone fleeing in front of her, she immediately stopped in her tracks. This was a young girl, about 16 or 17 years of age. She wore a light crimson robe that was stained with a lot of bloodstains. Her oval face was pale as ash at this moment, but her eyes were still lively. Her aura was weak, but it couldn't conceal the moving aura on her body. When the fat man with a fierce face saw the young girl who suddenly appeared in front of him, he was stunned and instinctively stopped in his tracks. Whoosh whoosh! Suddenly, several figures rushed out from behind the young girl. They brought with them several sharp auras that spread out in an instant, causing the surrounding air to be filled with traces of blood-fiendish aura. The atmosphere became tense for no reason. "Brother Chu, save me. It's this kid. I found this kid." Chapter 111. Su Yi's gaze landed on the rather wretched-looking girl, and his expression changed. This girl was none other than the girl, named Bai Ling, that he had met previously. However, Bai Ling was the only one present, and the other four were nowhere to be seen. It's the adventure team. Behind the young girl, several figures with sharp auras appeared. Su Yi raised his eyebrows, and immediately, the profound energy under his feet surged. His body expanded in an instant, and he quickly rushed behind the fierce-looking fatty. "Save me." The fatty was completely scared out of his wits. He knew the brat's strength, and had heard that even a 3rd-level Yuan profound realm cultivator in the team had been killed by this youth. How could he dare to resist? He increased his speed in an attempt to reach the front of the formation. The distance between them wasn't far to begin with. The fatty was running for his life, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. Boom! Suddenly, the expression of the fierce-looking fatty changed drastically at this moment. He was shocked to discover that his body seemed to have been temporarily frozen. Immediately after, an incomparably hot aura came from behind him. It carried a frightening heat wave as it charged toward his back like a shock wave. After all, he was a Yuan profound realm cultivator. Amidst his shock, the fatty set up a Yuan chi barrier. Explode. However, at the same time, a muffled explosion sounded from the Yuan chi barrier. It contained a huge amount of hot air that was compressed and then expanded, exploding like a bomb. Boom! The muffled explosion was like thunder. Instantly, an aura that resembled a small volcanic eruption erupted around the fatty's body. Strong winds surged like a small tornado. Poochie! The Yuan Chi barrier on the fatty's body instantly shattered inch by inch as his body staggered forward. His face instantly turned as pale as ash as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Bang! The fatty fell head first onto the ground. It was unknown if he was dead or alive. Bai Ling and the few people with sharp auras had a drastic change in their expressions. They could tell that Su Yi's attack was only at the 7th level of the Essence Spirit Realm. However, he was able to make a 1st-level Yuan Profound Realm Cultivator unable to withstand it. How could it be simple? Bai Ling, in particular, was greatly shocked. Her talent was definitely one of the best in the entire sect. However, she also knew that when she was at the 7th-level Yuan Soul stage, it would be difficult for her to deal with an ordinary 1st-level Yuan Profound Stage practitioner. Your cultivation is not weak. Su Yi stared at the figures with sharp auras. There were a total of 7 people, and he had already carefully sensed that there were at least experts at the 5th or 6th level of the Yuan Profound Realm. He was afraid that he would not be able to deal with them. "It's that brat. Bastard, hurry up and attack. Capture him alive, capture that brat. Don't let that brat escape." The 7 of them looked on helplessly as the fatty fell in front of them. They didn't even have the time to save him. They were all shocked at the same time. However, when they came back to their senses, they were immediately enraged and pleasantly surprised. They finally saw the main character. This was a great merit. Swish, swish. All of a sudden, the 7 figures rushed towards Su-Yi, even forgetting about Bai Ling roar. Gee! The beasts roared. At the same time, the forest was in chaos and the earth was shaking. A huge blazing barbaric bird suddenly rushed out from the forest. Its storm-like aura swept out in all directions along with a blazing aura. A snow jade barbaric ape roared as it crashed into a towering tree and pounced. Not good. The 7 people who were pouncing towards Su-Yi suddenly stopped. Their eyes were filled with fear as they were shocked by the sudden appearance of the barbaric beasts. Demon Spirit Realm. Bai Ling's face turned pale when she saw the 2 gigantic barbaric beasts. Swish! Rumble! The blazing barbaric bird and snow jade barbaric ape appeared too quickly. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws. In an instant, 2 burly men were smashed into pieces. Compared to the 2 gigantic barbaric beasts, these people were too insignificant. Swish! The blazing barbaric bird spread its wings, and its claws were like hooks. Under those sharp claws, another burly man was torn apart. Roar! The snow jade barbaric ape roared, and its voice was enough to make people tremble. Its huge palm slapped out and sent another person flying into a huge rock in the distance. Swish! The huge rock cracked, and that person was turned into a pile of flesh. Blood splattered all over the ground. In an instant, 4 people lost their lives. Their flesh was badly mutilated and left behind 4 bloodstains. Evil beast, I'll fight it out with you. The leader of the group, a middle-aged man, yelled as he brandished a long saber. The aura on his body wasn't ordinary, and it was sharp and intimidating. He originally wanted to escape, but the snow jade barbaric ape blocked his path. Therefore, he wanted to attack with all his might. PFFF, but it was a pity that this person's cultivation at the 7th level of the Yuan Profound Realm wasn't a match for the snow jade barbaric ape. With just a single slap from the snow jade barbaric ape, he was directly turned into a pile of meat paste along with his weapon. Why aren't you leaving? Hurry! Su-Yi's voice entered Bai Ling's ears, and he immediately went into the forest. Bai Ling regained her senses, and her beautiful eyes were filled with astonishment. She subconsciously followed Su-Yi and left. Approximately 2 hours later, Su-Yi and Bai Ling appeared in a hidden natural cave on the cliff. Luckily, the fiery barbaric bird and the snow jade barbaric ape didn't chase after us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a match for them. Bai Ling was panting. Her graceful figure was already extremely voluptuous. Her hair was messy, but it only added to her youthful charm. Bai Ling still had some lingering fear in her heart. Those 2 savage beasts were at the demon spirit realm. Luckily, they escaped quickly. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be a match for them. Yeah, luckily we escaped quickly. Su-Yi couldn't help but take a few more glances at that graceful figure. Bai Ling was still young and hadn't developed yet, but she was already so ferocious. Compared to Lu Ruashi's cousin, Lu Yani, she wasn't inferior at all. Hair, be hair, T on top of that. Bai Ling exuded a noble aura. As for her relationship with the snow jade barbaric ape and the fiery barbaric bird, Su-Yi naturally wouldn't say much. Originally, Su-Yi didn't have any scruples and planned to massacre the adventurers along the way. However, when he saw that Bai Ling was being chased, Su-Yi wasn't someone who would leave her in the lurch. After all, he had taken one of her interspatial pouches. Moreover, this woman must have some powerful backing. Who knew if this woman would deal with him when the time came? Su-Yi didn't want to expose the snow jade barbaric ape and the fiery barbaric bird in front of Bai Ling. Saving her was purely humanitarian. Are the snow jade barbaric ape and the fiery barbaric bird related to you? Bai Ling looked at Su-Yi with suspicion in her eyes. The fiery barbaric bird and the snow jade barbaric ape suddenly appeared, but they didn't attack them, nor did they chase after them. This was somewhat suspicious. Chapter 112. Have you finally admitted it? That adventurer team clearly had a grudge with you and wanted to kill you, but you used us to deal with that adventurer team. You're too cunning. Bai Ling was furious. Just as she had expected, this kid was indeed using them to fight with the adventurer team. If it weren't for this kid, they wouldn't have been separated by the impact. This, Su-Yi chuckled, but then his expression changed. He looked at Bai Ling seriously and said, "Actually, how can you blame me for this? I didn't ask you to do it. It was you guys who were arrogant and provoked me first. Later on, you wanted to kill me. So, this has nothing to do with me." "You're quibbling." Bai Ling stared at Su-Yi, but she was at a loss for words. It was true that Zhou De, Guiyin, and the others were used because of their arrogance, but this was clearly a trap set up by this kid. Then, Su-Yi learned from Bai Ling that not long after taking away Zhou De and the other spatial bags, the five of them encountered the adventurer team again and fought a bloody battle all the way. Not long ago, they met a group of people with extraordinary cultivation from the adventurer team. Bai Ling, Zhou De, Yun, and the others were separated, and then they happened to meet Su-Yi. "Why did you come to the Savage Demon Forest? You should have experts from your sect, right? Why are you afraid of that adventure team?" Su-Yi asked Bai Ling. "We came to the Savage Demon Forest this time because we heard that a blood jasper spirit ginseng might appear in the forest. The elders in the sect brought us here to try our luck and train at the same time." Suddenly, Bai Ling reacted. The guy in front of her was completely tricking her. The elders had instructed her not to tell anyone about this. Blood jasper spirit ginseng. Hearing that, Su-Yi carefully thought about all the information about the blood jasper spirit ginseng in his mind. It was the main ingredient for refining several kinds of yellow-grade pills. Rumor had it that directly consuming the blood jasper spirit ginseng could also increase one's cultivation and even have the effect of reviving the dead. In an instant, Su-Yi was shocked. If the news was true, if he could obtain the blood jasper spirit ginseng, it would be enough to let his grandfather recover and even improve his cultivation. "What happened to you?" Bai Ling asked in surprise when she saw Su-Yi in a daze. Everything about this young man seemed very strange. "No, it's nothing. I was just thinking that the adventurer team wouldn't come looking for us." Su-Yi came back to his senses and pretended as if nothing had happened. "When I recover a bit, I'll meet up with the people in the sect. Then I won't have to worry about the adventurer team." Bai Ling looked at Su-Yi and asked, "Which sect are you from? Why are you in the Savage Demon Forest? Are you here to train as well?" "I don't belong to any sect, just a loose cultivator," Su-Yi said. This was the truth. Bai Ling stared at Su-Yi, clearly not believing Su-Yi's words. She had seen Su-Yi's strength and martial skills. How could such a youth not belong to any sect? He clearly did not want to tell her. "Oh yeah, that." Bai Ling looked at Su-Yi and hesitated. "What's wrong?" Su-Yi smiled and was very enthusiastic. "You took my space bag back then. Can you return it to me? My clothes are still in it," Bai Ling said, biting her lips slightly. Her clothes were stained with blood, and she was in a very sorry state. There was no way to wash up here, but at least she had to change her clothes. She really couldn't stand the sight of herself in these clothes. Seeing the clothes Su-Yi was wearing at the moment, Bai Ling recognized them. They were Zhou Da's clothes, which were in the space bag. Everyone had set up their own methods in the space bag, but this guy could open it. He even opened her space bag. Apart from some pills, there were only some clothes and women's items in her interspatial bag. This fella has probably gone through my interspatial bag. Thinking of this, Bai Ling's face could not help but blush. Space bag? Of course there's no problem. It was all a misunderstanding back then. Su-Yi smiled embarrassedly and immediately took out a space bag from his pocket and handed it to Bai Ling. It was Bai Ling's space bag back then. After receiving the space bag, Bai Ling looked at Su-Yi's smiling face and felt that something was wrong. Following that, Bai Ling checked the space bag. As expected, it was open, but the pills were gone. The other things were not missing. I'm sorry. I've taken all the pills. If there's a chance next time, I'll definitely return them to you." Su-Yi's gaze did not leave a trace. He chuckled and watched as Bai Ling checked the space bag. Naturally, she would find that the pills were gone. At this moment, the pills were all in Su-Yi's mysterious space, so he could not take them out and return them to her. Are you an alchemist or a blacksmith? Bai Ling looked at Su Yi and thought, this guy can open my space bag. Could he be an alchemist or a blacksmith? No, I found a way to open this space bag. Su Yi shook his head. He knew what Bai Ling was referring to. Naturally, he would not expose the mysterious space and his identity as a sole controller. He looked at Bai Ling and asked, I still don't know which sect you are from. Taixing sect. Bai Ling looked at Su Yi and hesitated for a moment before saying these three words. Su Yi was secretly taken aback. The three words, Taiyang sect, carried too much weight. As he expected, Bai Ling and the others came from a big sect. This was not an ordinary big sect. One mountain, two religions, three sects for groups. The Holy Mountain was one of them. The remaining two were the Gemini sect and the Limitless sect. The three sects were the Heavenly Dragon sect, Taixing sect, and Immortal Sword sect. The four groups were the Divine Tiger sect, Boundless sect, Taiching sect, and Demon Subduing sect. Taixing sect was one of the 10 major forces of one mountain, two religions, three sects, and four groups. It was as famous as the Holy Mountain. Oh, so it's the Taiyang sect. My apologies. Su Yi's expression remained unchanged as he smiled faintly. From the Holy Mountain's golden exterior, he wasn't interested in these large sections. Although he couldn't generalize, at least he didn't yearn for them as much as before. V version E first released Bess. You said you're a rogue cultivator, Yang Qi said. Considering your talent, I think you should be able to join the Taixing sect. When the time comes, I'll put in a good word for you. It shouldn't be a problem. Bai Ling stared closely at Su Yi, wanting to know the background of this guy. When he heard about the Taixing sect, this guy did not seem to have much of a reaction. How could he be a rogue cultivator? Bai Ling knew of this fellow's innate talent. Being able to easily kill a first-level Yuan Profound Realm cultivator when he was only at the 7th level of the Essence Soul Realm was enough to prove his innate talent. If he were to join the Taixing sect, the elders in the sect would definitely be more than happy to oblige. Forget it. I'm used to being free. Su Yi shook his head. Bai Ling's eyes flickered. Many people wanted to join the Taiyang sect, but failed. The Taiyang sect was the holy land and heaven for all martial artists. However, this young man in front of her was indifferent. Unless the sect he came from was not inferior to the Taiyang sect. The more she thought about it, the more Bai Ling felt that it was possible. Otherwise, who would be indifferent to the Taiyang sect? Chapter 113. Okay, you go out for a while. I need to change my clothes. Don't come in, or I won't be polite to you. Bai Ling said to Su. Okay, you heal yourself. I'll guard you. Don't worry, I won't peek at you. Su Yi turned around, waved his hand, and left the cave. Okay, don't come in. As she watched Su Yi leave, Bai Ling was still a little worried. She secretly glanced at him, then quickly moved a huge rock over and sealed the back of the cave tightly. Only then did she relax. He's a little special. After doing all this, Bai Ling muttered to herself. Compared to Zhou De, Guiyin, and Wu Qingfeng, this young man was really different. Outside the cave, seeing that the cave entrance had been sealed, Su Yi smiled helplessly, and then his face fell into deep thought. Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. Su Yi was still thinking about the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng in his heart. If he had the chance to get it, it would be able to solve the crisis on his grandfather's body. In the dense forest, the surroundings were a mess. Towering trees were broken, huge rocks were cracked, and blood was splattered everywhere. A dozen people looked dignified and trembled secretly. Captain, more than a dozen of our elite brothers have died. We really can't go on like this. A lean man said to Tao Tiancheng. There were not many people left in the whole team. There are traces of savage beasts. It's not that kid who killed them. Bastard. Tao Tiancheng checked the surroundings and felt traces of savage beasts. The corpses were badly mutilated, and the rest were broken limbs. This was definitely the work of savage beasts. Could it be that the kid really has a powerful savage beast as a mount? The lean man's expression changed. He had already felt traces of savage beasts in several places. This could only prove that the kid had a savage beast as a mount. then he had to reevaluate the kid's identity. Regardless of whether he has a savage beast as a mount or not, I will definitely not let him off. Tao Tianqing's face was gloomy. The team that it single-handedly built had fallen to such a state and suffered such a heavy loss. Even in the outskirts of the man-demon forest, his reputation had been completely ruined. If he didn't capture that brat alive, there would be no place for Tao Tianqing in the man-demon forest in the future. Such a huge loss could only be repaid by capturing that brat alive and handing him over to the Black Fiend sect. Where's the vice captain? Why isn't he here yet? Tao Tianqing had a displeased look on his face. A savage beast with a high cultivation level had appeared, and, judging from the traces in the surroundings, there seemed to be more than one savage beast. Things were getting out of his expectations, and he had no choice but to be fully prepared. Captain, the vice captain sent a message. He said that he'll come here once he's done, the lean man said. What does Wang Yuqin want to do? Does he not put me in his eyes? Tao Tianqing's face was very ugly. He had already sent several messages, but Vice Captain Wang Yuqin still hadn't arrived. This clearly showed that he didn't put him in his eyes. Be careful, someone is coming. Tao Tianqing's voice hadn't completely faded away when his expression suddenly changed and he looked forward. Yolo, 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 yolo. Suddenly, the sound of a beast's roar came from the front. The dense forest shook, and in a few short breaths, no less than 200 Earth Abyss wolves leapt out from the dense forest. Their appearance was ferocious, and their sharp fangs made people tremble for no reason. The dozen or so adventurers had a fierce aura, but at this moment, in front of this group of no less than 200 Earth Abyss wolves, they couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end. Did we encounter a beast tide? How can there be so many Earth Abyss wolves? Someone asked, trembling. With so many Earth Abyss wolves, although their cultivation level couldn't be too high, it was still not something that they could deal with at this moment. No, there aren't many Earth Abyss wolves. At most, there would be a few in a litter. With so many Earth Abyss wolves, they must have been tamed by someone. Someone replied, with so many Earth Abyss wolves, it wasn't likely that it was a beast tide. Someone must have tamed them. At this moment, Tao Tianqing's expression darkened. He was very clear that it was already very difficult for him to find someone to rent less than 20 Earth Abyss wolves at a high price. Now, to be able to take out so many Earth Abyss wolves at once, the person behind this was definitely not simple. Whoosh whoosh. Following closely behind the pack of Earth Abyss wolves, dozens of figures swept out. It's the vice captain and the others. The vice captain is here. Looking at the slightly plump and short, burly man in the lead, the faces of the adventurer team immediately lit up. The burly man in the lead was the vice captain of the adventurer team, Wang Yuqin. Tao Tianqing wasn't happy. His face was filled with suspicion as he looked at Vice Captain Wang Yuqin. Although there were some members of the adventurer team beside him, there were more than 10 unfamiliar faces. Among them, there were a few very strong auras. At a glance, one could tell that they were definitely not simple. In particular, there was an old man in his 50s. He was a head taller than everyone else, but he was as thin as a match. A brown robe covered his body, making him look like a skeleton wearing a robe. His cheeks were fleshless, his cheekbones were high, his forehead was protruding, and his eyes were deep like a night dove in the deep forest. Black Fiend Sect. Looking at such an old man, Tao Tianqing could not help but feel his heart tremble for no reason. This person was definitely an expert, and not just any ordinary expert. More importantly, these dozens of people all had the same symbol. Although he had never interacted with the people from a Black Fiend sect, it did not mean that he did not recognize them. They were people from a Black Fiend sect. Captain, let me introduce you. This is Black Fiend sect's enforcer, Heijio. Wang Yuqin stepped forward. His short and plump figure had a smile on his face. When he arrived in front of Tao Tianqing, he smiled faintly. Wang Yuqin, you... Tao Tianqing's expression changed. This person was from the Black Fiend sect. At this moment, this vice captain, his good brother, had come with the people of the Black Fiend sect. How could he not know that Wang Yuqin had secretly contacted the Black Fiend sect to seek refuge with them? Captain, you'd better explain the situation to Enforcer Heijio. Is there any news about that kid? Wang Yuchen's eyes were smiling, as if he didn't care at all about Tao Tiancheng's unsightly expression. Where's that kid now? Is he the kid that the Black Fiend sect is looking for? I want all the information. Otherwise, you know the consequences. He Jiu looked at Tao Tiancheng and said. His voice was sharp and piercing, like the cry of a night dove, making people feel uncomfortable. One day later, the cave was opened. Bai Ling walked out. She had changed into a light green silk dress with flowers sprinkled on it. Her black hair hung over her shoulders, and her steps were elegant and graceful. Her eyes were dazzling, and her red lips were red without any makeup. Her face had also recovered a touch of rosy color. Chapter 114. What are you doing? Looking at Su Yi, Bai Ling was surprised, her brows furrowed. Her beautiful eyes were clear and dark, unparalleled in her beauty. I was hungry and wanted to eat something, so I roasted some meat. Su Yi snapped out of his daze. This woman was not old, but she was such a troublemaker. In a few more years, who knew what kind of trouble she would cause? Roasted meat? Bai Ling was puzzled. She walked over to Su Yi's side and looked at the pile of rocks. Her shoulders were sharp, her waist was slender. Her neck was long and slender, her skin was white and dewy. A whiff of fragrance wafted into Su Yi's nose. It should be about done. Su Yi smiled and pulled aside the stone pile. After extinguishing the fire on the stone pile, he took out a ball of dried mud from it. Smashing the mud, an object wrapped in leaves was revealed. This leaf seemed to be a type of fragrant leaf, giving off a fragrant aroma. Bai Ling watched quietly as Su Yi did all this, very curious. When the fragrant leaf was unwrapped, the aroma of meat instantly wafted out. A golden pheasant sizzled, and a drop of hot oil slowly slid down the lines of the meat. Smells so good, Bai Ling could not help but exclaim. The aroma of the meat was intoxicating, and with just a sniff, it was as if the gluttonous bug in her body was quickly aroused. But as soon as she said that, a blush crept up her cheeks. She was one of the Taixing sect's proud daughters. How could she be so unruly in front of this guy? Smells good, doesn't it? I searched for a long time to find these ingredients. Come, have some. Su Yi smiled. Essence soul cultivators could not go without food all the time. There were times when they would be hungry, and besides, there were gluttonous bugs in their 5 viscera temples. Fortunately, this was the barbaric demon forest. It was not too difficult to find some ingredients for roasting meat, just a little troublesome. This kind of salty soil was very important, and fragrant leaves were also rare. Otherwise, this kind of roasted meat that looked like a beggar's pheasant would be bland and tasteless. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yi tore off more than half of the roasted meat wrapped in fragrant leaves and handed it to Bai Ling. Bai Ling originally wanted to refuse, but she was really a little hungry. Moreover, the aroma of meat that she had never smelled before made her finally unable to hold back. She took the barbecued meat and took a small bite without caring about how hot it was. Delicious. Bai Ling was surprised. This meat was too delicious. She had never eaten this kind of roasted meat before. It's delicious, right? It's a secret recipe. If there's a chance in the future, I'll make other delicious dishes for you. In my old hometown, there are many delicious dishes. Su Yi laughed. Without any hesitation, he began to eat heartily. Bai Ling ate the barbecued meat and looked at Su Yi from time to time. She could not help but find it strange. This fella clearly snatched their interspatial bags and was cunning, but for some reason, she did not hate him as much as she imagined. In fact, he gave her a strange feeling. Don't you have an interspatial bag? Why are you carrying a sword and a saber? Bai Ling asked Su Yi as she ate. His appearance was really quite peculiar. Don't you think it's more stylish this way? When others see me, they'll know I'm an expert and won't dare to provoke me. Su Yi smiled. Bai Ling could not help but roll her eyes when she heard that. She did not intend to continue the conversation. She continued to ask, I'm Bai Ling. What about you? I know you're Bai Ling. Su Yi smiled faintly. After hearing Zhouda and the others call him, he said to Bai Ling, I'm Su Yi. Su Yi as in Su Yi, as in Su Yi. Bai Ling could only roll her eyes at Su Yi again. Be careful, there's movement. At this moment, Bai Ling's expression suddenly changed. Asterisk swish, swish. Asterisk in an instant, the forest ahead trembled, and then two underworld wolfhounds shot out. Oh! The underworld wolfhounds howled. When they saw Su Yi and Bai Ling, they immediately pounced on them. Asterisk swish. Asterisk Su Yi's figure was like an afterimage as he shot out in an instant. A vast and mighty aura swept out from his body. When the aura fluctuated, the two underworld wolfhounds that had just pounced out trembled. Asterisk swish. Asterisk Su Yi also arrived in front of the two underworld wolfhounds. He unsheathed the saber on his back and swung it down. The saber light was like an arc of light, and the two underworld wolfhounds were directly cut in half. Blood splattered everywhere. All of this happened as fast as lightning, causing Bai Ling's face to be secretly astonished. Although the cultivation of these two Earth Hell Wolf hounds wasn't anything special, they weren't weak either. An ordinary first-level Yuan profound stage practitioner wouldn't be easy to deal with. However, they were instantly killed by this fellow, causing her to be shocked. Found a kid. Quick, release the signal flare. A hurried voice came from within the dense forest. Someone spoke, and then three figures appeared. When they saw Su Yi's figure, they were instantly delighted. Someone immediately wanted to pull the signal flare. Do it, or else we'll be in big trouble. Su Yi's voice entered Bai Ling's ears. The Yuan Qi under his feet formed a whirlpool as he stepped out with the soaring hunter transformation steps. He directly slashed towards the burly man who was about to pull the signal flare. Be careful. This person was not weak. His expression instantly changed as his Yuan Qi surged. A second layer profound origin realm cultivation was not weak in the outskirts of the barbaric demon forest. He directly dodged Su Yi's slash. Asterisk swish. Asterisk the sword light was like lightning as a graceful figure approached. Yuan Qi was poured into the tip of the sword. It was as if there was an electric arc that was dazzling as it directly plunged into the burly man's chest. Before the signal flare could be released, the burly man fell to the ground. Su Yi's eyes moved. The one who attacked was Bai Ling's Su. He could sense that the injuries on Bai Ling's body had yet to fully recover. However, to be able to finish off a second-layer profound Origin Realm practitioner in a single move, it seemed like Bai Ling's strength was much stronger than he had imagined. Run! The remaining two did not dare to stay any longer. They had long heard that this kid was too terrifying. He had killed many experts in the adventurer team. Their cultivation was not even comparable to their companion from before. In an instant, the two of them turned around and fled without any hesitation. This was the speed that they had honed in the barbaric demon forest. We can't escape. When such a voice entered one of the men's ears, it was as if it was right next to his ear. A shocked expression flashed across his face. Before he could shout or attack, a figure flashed past him. A powerful aura, along with a muffled thunder-like sound, directly smashed into his chest. Asterisk bang. Asterisk, a muffled sound rang out from his chest. The man's pupils shrunk as his chest seemed to have sunk in. He could only feel a continuous force attacking his body, causing serious damage to his internal organs. Hishti asterisk. Asterisk, a mouthful of fresh blood spurted out as the man's body was sent flying backwards. He heavily landed on the ground as he felt his internal organs shift. Chapter 115. The man who had been seriously injured by Su, he hadn't died, but his injuries were so severe that he didn't even have the power to move. He could only stare blankly as Su Yi placed his broadsword against his neck. Where are your captain and vice captain? If you don't want to talk, then die. Su Yi's gaze was cold as he asked, his broadsword still against the man's neck. There didn't seem to be many people left in the adventurer squad, but they were unexpectedly still so persistent. Since he had already decided to end things once and for all, Su Yi was looking for an opportunity to attack. Of the entire adventurer squad, the only ones who made Su Yi feel a bit of dread were the captain and vice captain. The captain and vice captain are with the Black Fiend School right now. They're not far away. The man was so terrified that he coughed up blood. He didn't dare to conceal anything. Black Fiend School. But upon hearing the words Black Fiend School, Su Yi's gaze darkened inwardly. Most Y5 New SR Chapter * Part J. How many people did the Black Fiend School send? How many experts? Su Yi asked in a low voice. He could ignore the Adventurer Squad, but he couldn't ignore the Black Fiend School. Su Yi really hadn't imagined that the Black Fiend School would chase him all the way here and even travel together with the Adventurer Squad. There are dozens of people from the Black Fiend School, but there are nearly 200 underworld wolfhounds, led by a Dharma protector named Night Dove. There are quite a few other experts as well. The man stared at Su Yi, his heart pounding. Clenching his teeth, he said, I have elders and children to take care of. Spare my life. Otherwise, if you kill me, you won't be able to escape either. The Black Fiend School sent so many experts. I heard you killed their young master, so they won't let this go. I could have spared your life, but I hate threats. You have elders and children to take care of, but since you're chasing me, then you should be prepared to be killed by me. That's a matter of course. I have elders to take care of as well. As soon as Su Yi finished speaking, the broadsword in his hand slashed across the man's neck, killing him instantly. Su Yi narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect the people from the Black Fiend sect to appear. The Black Fiend sect was too powerful, and the difference between them and the small adventurer team was like heaven and earth. To Su Yi, the Black Fiend sect was still an insurmountable mountain. Bai Ling put away the sword in her hand and looked at Su Yi. That awe-inspiring appearance and the fierce and merciless attack just now made him seem like a completely different person from before. This made her very curious. She did not know which face was the real him. This fellow was not very old, but he gave her the feeling that he was like an ocean, bottomless and unfathomable. What happened? Looking at Su Yi's thoughtful face, Bai Ling hesitated for a while, then asked Su, the Black Evil sect seems to be quite powerful in the barbarian demon forest. Have you offended the Black Evil sect? Some small grudges. Su Yi's eyes narrowed. Naturally, he would not tell others that he killed the young master of the Black Fiend sect. He then said to Bai Ling, your injuries are better now. We should go our separate ways. Take care. Bai Ling looked at Su Yi, hesitated for a while, then said in a low voice, not far ahead should be the place where we agreed to meet with the sex experts. You can come with me. If we really meet the people from the Black Fiend sect, you don't have to worry about anything. Forget it. Su Yi smiled faintly. If the Taxing sex experts were there was indeed no need to worry about the Black Fiend sect. However, Su Yi did not have a good impression of these large sections. Who knew if they would cause trouble for him? Moreover, he had already offended Zhou De, Guiyin, and the others. If he went with the Taxing sect, there would definitely be a lot of trouble. Don't worry. You, Zhou De, and Guiyin have some small misunderstandings. As long as I say something, they will be willing to listen to me. There won't be any problems. Bai Ling thought that Su Yi was worried that Guiyin, Zhou De, and the others would be there. She wanted Su Yi to be at ease because she could resolve these small grudges. Haha, I'm still used to being alone. Su Yi shook his head and smiled. What small misunderstandings? Su Yi had never thought of returning the spatial pouch, medicinal pills, and martial skills. He would not return them. Moreover, if he went with the people from the Taxing sect, it would be inconvenient for him to move around. It was not necessarily a good thing. Seeing that I protected you and treated you to barbecue, can I ask you for one last favor? Then, Su Yi's face became serious. He looked at Bai Ling and asked, okay, as long as I can do it, it shouldn't be a problem. Bai Ling looked at Su Yi. After a few breaths, she nodded. This guy really did have a purpose. I want to know some information about the blood jasper spirit ginseng. Su Yi asked. He returned the spatial pouch to Bai Ling and protected her for a day. His purpose was naturally to learn some information about the blood jasper spirit ginseng. The news about the blood jasper spirit ginseng appearing in the barbarian demon forest is very secretive. Only a few people know about it. Bai Ling was a bit hesitant. Not many people knew about it. The blood jasper spirit ginseng was also a treasure that the sex experts wanted very much. After a slight pause, Bai Ling continued. As far as I know, some experts also know about it and want to get their hands on the blood jasper spirit ginseng. If you also want to get your hands on the blood jasper spirit ginseng, I advise you to give up on it as soon as possible. It's not something you can participate in with your cultivation. I'm just curious. Su Yi smiled and said to Bai Ling, if it's inconvenient for you, you don't have to say it. The blood jasper spirit ginseng is very likely to appear in the Barbarian Demon Canyon. It's said that the blood jasper spirit ginseng already has spiritual intelligence. It was discovered not long ago. That's all I know, Bai Ling said to Su Yi as she bit her red lips. That was all she knew. This time, they had agreed to meet at the Barbarian Demon Canyon with the sex experts. The sex experts had already gone to the canyon in advance to look for the blood jasper spirit ginseng. The Barbarian Demon Canyon. The blood jasper spirit ginseng has a spiritual intelligence. Hearing that, Su Yi was secretly moved. Su Yi knew very well what kind of place the Barbarian Demon Canyon was. After passing through the Barbarian Demon Canyon, one would reach the center of the Barbarian Demon Forest. Most importantly, it was said that many savage beasts gathered in the Barbarian Demon Canyon. Among them, there were many powerful savage beasts. Usually, not many people dared to enter the canyon casually. Take care, Miss Bai Ling. We'll meet again if fate allows. After waving his hand, Su Yi turned around and left. His seemingly thin body was tall and firm in the mottled light. What a strange guy. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Bai Ling muttered to herself. Until the figure completely disappeared, her eyes rippled and a light flashed across them. Then the beautiful figure turned around and left. Roar! Screech! After a while, Su Yi saw the fiery savage bird and the snow jade savage ape. You have to be careful and be careful. Chapter 116. If he rode the fiery savage bird during the day, it would be easier to expose himself. Su Yi reckoned that the mysterious Hei Jiao from the Black Fiend sect was at least at the origin spirit realm. But this was only at the very least. It was still impossible to estimate. Su Yi was also certain that there was an expert who could fly among the experts from the Black Fiend sect. The Black Fiend sect was already nearby. If he were to expose himself while riding the fiery savage bird, it would be even more dangerous. If he wanted to ride the fiery savage bird, it would be safer at night. The fiery savage bird and snow jade savage ape nodded. Although they couldn't speak, they could understand Su Yi's words. It's better to leave early. Su Yi made his decision. The Black Fiend sect was here. He couldn't stay here any longer. Just the number of Earth Abyss wolves was enough to make it impossible for him to hide. Olo bang bang. Suddenly, a thunderous roar resounded in the quiet forest, emitting a shocking muffled sound. Gee! The snow jade savage ape roared. The fiery savage bird's claws were like hooks as it attacked. Mad Dragon's 3 blades. Tyrannical Dragon whirlwind slash. The blade light was like lightning as it streaked across the sky. The aura was violent and fierce. In front of Su Yi, a Black Fiend sect disciple had a shocked expression as the aura of death gushed out from the bottom of his heart. Unspecified currency more? New girl's fastest hit K, but it was too late for regrets. He was at the 3rd level of the Origin Profound Realm, but he actually lost his life to a brat at the 7th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. Even in death, he couldn't believe it. Snow Ape, Firebird, let's go. Su Yi's large blade dripped with blood as he immediately left. Since he encountered the Black Fiend sect, there must be other Black Fiend sect members nearby. He had to leave as soon as possible. The surroundings were in a mess as several Earth Abyss wolves were killed. Dozens of Black Fiend sect disciples were turned into corpses. Some were smashed into meat paste by the snow jade savage apes and fiery savage birds. Bastard, is that brat so hard to deal with? After a while, Yi Jiao stood before a pile of mangled corpses with a gloomy expression. Those were the disciples of the Black Fiend school. Tao Tiansheng, didn't you say that you were certain that this brat's cultivation was only at the Essence Soul realm? Why are several of my Black Fiend sect's 8th and 9th level Essence Profound realm martial artists dead? Yi Jiao looked straight at Tao Tiansheng, the cold light in his eyes terrifying. Many of the Black Fiend sect's disciples and adventurers felt this aura and kept quiet out of fear, not daring to say anything. Protector Yigio, that brat is indeed in the Essence Soul realm. I'm very sure of this. However, I suspect that there's definitely a powerful savage beast following him. Tao Tiansheng hesitated for a moment, but he had no choice but to bite the bullet and speak to Yigio. He felt very depressed. What did the deaths of the Black Fiend sect have to do with him? Most of his adventurer team had already died. There are indeed savage beasts. There should be 2 of them. Yigio's expression slightly changed as he swept the surroundings with his gaze and said, "All Essence Spirit realm martial artists, lead your teams and set out personally. You must find that brat before nightfall. If the savage beast by his side is a flying savage beast, then it will be even more difficult for us to find him once nightfall arrives. Yes, Protector, search. You must find that brat before nightfall." Instantly, numerous figures flashed out and led their teams away. The sun set at dusk, and the red clouds covered half the sky. In the messy valley, Su Yi's broadsword was dripping with blood, and corpses were strewn all around him. In a short few hours, Su Yi had once again encountered 3 waves of Black Fiend sect's search teams with Earth Netherwolf hounds. There was no lack of 8th and 9th level Essence Profound realm martial artists among them. If it wasn't for the Snow Jade, Barbaric Ape, and Blazing Barbaric Bird, he would probably be in deep trouble. Oh, the roar of a beast came from afar. Su Yi's ears perked up slightly. This sound was too familiar. It was precisely the sound of the Earth Netherwolf hound. They're here again. Let's go. Su Yi's slightly pale face turned solemn as he stuffed an elixir into his mouth. This was a recovery elixir that he obtained from Joda, Guiyin, and the others. In order to deal with the Black Fiend sect's pursuit, Su especially took it out from the mysterious space in case of an emergency. Swoosh, swoosh, soon, AOO. However, it didn't take long before Su Yi was tightly surrounded by more than 30 Earth Netherwolf hounds. Found it. It's this brat. Brat, let's see where you can run to now. Don't let this brat escape again. In a split second, nearly 30 figures appeared around Su Yi and tightly surrounded Su Yi. The newcomers were all Black Fiend sect's disciples. Each and every one of them had a swift and fierce aura that far surpassed the adventurer team. Su Yi sized up his surroundings with a solemn expression. Among the nearly 30 Black Fiend sect's disciples, there were at least 2 Essence Spirit realm martial artists. Attack! A burly man from a Black Fiend sect shouted in a low voice, his gaze fixed on Su Yi. Swoosh, swoosh. As the burly man's voice fell, the Black Fiend sect's disciples charged out and directly pounced toward Su Yi. Boom! In a split second, Su Yi's Origin Supreme techniques aura circulated without hesitation as a domineering and imposing aura abruptly spread out and swept out. Oh, under such an aura, more than 30 Earth Netherwolf hounds immediately went berserk before crawling on the ground in shock and awe. This caused many of the Black Fiend sect's disciples who were pouncing to be stopped in their tracks. Kill! Su Yi bellowed as his aura surged and his gaze turned cold. AOO! In a split second, more than 30 Earth Netherwolf hounds went berserk as they pounced towards the Black Fiend sect disciples with ferocious roars and sharp fangs as they went all out. What's going on? Not good. No matter how the Black Fiend sect's disciples ordered, the Earth Netherwolf hounds wouldn't listen, and the situation instantly turned chaotic. This kid is strange. Be careful. An expert from the Black Fiend sect had a gloomy expression as he recovered from his shock. He immediately killed the 2 Earth Netherwolf hounds that were pouncing towards him. He stepped out, and his Yuan Qi surged as he pounced towards Su Yi. Screech! A sharp screech was heard as the forest went berserk. A blazing aura suddenly swept out as sharp claws shot out towards the Black Fiend sect's expert. Fiery Barbaric Bird. First-level demon, Profound Realm. The attacker's eyes trembled as the Yuan Qi within his body surged out. The Yuan Qi condensed in his hand as he clenched his fist. The Yuan Qi covered his fist, and a dazzling light burst out as he punched towards the sharp claws. Bang, bang. A muffled thunder-like sound shook the void. The Black Fiend's sex expert was pushed back a few feet as he rubbed against the ground with a gloomy expression. In the void, a fiery barbaric bird flapped its wings and swept the surrounding sand and stones. It was a complete mess. Violent dragon whirlwind slash. At the same time, Su-Yi drew his blade and blocked a Black Fiend sex disciple who was pouncing towards him. Clang, clang, clang. Illo. Several Black Fiend sex disciples who were about to pounce towards Su-Yi were killed by the Snow Jade barbaric ape when they were about to approach Su-Yi. Bastard. Chapter 117. Bang bang. The muffled sound was like thunder as it shook the air. The expert from the Black Fiend sect was instantly pushed back several meters, his face somewhat gloomy. In the air, a blazing barbaric bird flapped its wings and swept through the air, causing sand and rocks to fly in all directions. Rampaging dragon whirlwind slash. At the same time, Su-Yi drew his blade and blocked a Black Fiend sect disciple who was pouncing towards him. Clanging sounds rang out as weapons clashed. Illo. Several Black Fiend sect disciples who were about to pounce towards Su-Yi were smacked to death by the Snow Jade barbaric ape, just as they were about to approach Su-Yi. Evil creature. The expression of a Black Fiend sect disciple changed drastically. The aura of the first level of the Yuan profound realm gushed out as the spear in his hand moved like lightning, blocking the Snow Jade barbaric ape. Swish! After pushing back a Black Fiend sect disciple in front of him, Su-Yi did not hesitate as the Yuan Qi under his feet formed a whirlpool, and he immediately leapt onto the back of the blazing barbaric bird. Screech! The blazing barbaric bird screeched as it spread its wings and soared into the air, flying out of the dense forest. Snow Ape, retreat quickly. TFK genuine Y #head, hair, Su-Yi shouted. With so many Black Fiend sect disciples and an Yuan spirit stage expert, he did not want to get into a fight. Such a commotion would quickly attract more and more Black Fiend sect disciples. Where do you think you're going? As the blazing barbaric bird soared into the air, the Yuan spirit stage Black Fiend sect disciple who was pushed back by the blazing barbaric bird let out a deep shout. His eyes revealed a cold glint as he stood up. Rays of light shot out from under his feet as he stomped on the ground and soared into the air. Boom! In an instant, rays of light rippled beneath the disciple's feet as a powerful aura abruptly spread out, following which the illusory image of a flying bird about 3 meters in size appeared beneath his feet. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, revealing an ominous glint in its eyes as if it was real. With a wave of his sleeve, the disciple stepped on the illusory image of the flying bird and chased after the blazing barbaric bird. The formation of Yuan Qi was the hallmark of an essence spirit realm practitioner. Su-Yi had already seen origin spirit stage cultivators being able to condense beast forms to fly. Back in Barbarian City, an origin spirit stage cultivator from the Sacred Mountain had done so, causing many people to secretly yearn for it. However, the Yuan Qi of an essence spirit realm cultivator could not compare to the blazing inferno bird's flight speed. The difference in speed was simply too great. The other origin spirit realm cultivator from the Black Fiend sect was still being held back by the Snow Jade savage ape. Just as he was about to form Yuan Qi beneath his feet and transform into a flying beast shadow, he was blasted away by the Snow Jade savage ape's fist. Kid, you can't escape. The Yuan spirit stage expert from the Black Fiend sect who had caught up to Su-Yi roared out explosively. However, the speed of the flying bird was much slower than the blazing savage bird. Boom! Rumble! Kid, you can't escape even if you have wings. However, at this moment, from the dense forest below, nearly 10 auras soared into the sky from all directions, shaking the forest. One after another, Yuan Qi flying beast shadows spread their wings and rushed out. On each of them were figures with sharp auras. They were all from a Black Fiend sect. Screech! The blazing savage bird screeched its aura surging as it tried to force its way through. "Get the hell down!" A deep roar came from the front. Immediately, a powerful Yuan Qi light pillar shot out. Rumble! Almost at the same time, several powerful auras shot out from all directions, attacking the blazing savage bird simultaneously. "Watch out, Firebird!" The speed was too fast, and the attacks were all aimed at the blazing savage bird. He was completely unable to intervene. These attacks were all from Origin Spirit stage practitioners. Even if Yi could intervene, he would not be able to withstand them. The blazing savage bird screeched, the feathers on its body glowing, as if it was covered in flames. Its aura rose to the extreme, and it spread its wings to dodge the two attacks in front of it. However, several attacks from all directions landed on its body at the same time. Bang, bang. Several attacks landed, producing muffled sounds like thunder. The blazing savage bird's enormous body immediately swayed. Its feathers scattered and finally fell from the sky. Bang, bang. The blazing savage bird smashed into a canyon between the mountain ranges below. When it landed on the ground, rocks and sand flew everywhere, and blood spurted out from its mouth. Yi also fell to the ground, rolling down from the blazing savage bird's body. Firebird. Yi crawled up, worried about the firebird. These days, he had developed feelings for the firebird and the snow ape. If not for the firebird and the snow ape's protection, he probably would not have been able to face the many troubles of the adventurer team. Screech! The blazing savage bird spread its wings. Its body was riddled with wounds, and blood was flowing out. It let out a sharp screech as it stared at Yi, as if it was telling Yi to run. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Nearly 10 figures descended from the sky, and the beast shadows beneath their feet disappeared, surrounding the blazing savage bird and Yi. "Kid, if you have the ability, then continue to run." The Origin Spirit Realm cultivator from the Black Fiend sect, who couldn't catch up to Yi, sneered with a chilling light in his eyes. Yi stood beside the blazing savage bird, looking at the figures around him. Including the original Origin Spirit Realm cultivator, there were a total of 9 Origin Spirit Realm cultivators surrounding him. There were quite a few Origin Spirit Realm cultivators who had powerful auras. They should be at least at the 3rd or 4th level of Origin Spirit Realm. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do anything to the blazing savage bird. Yi knew that although the blazing savage bird had just broken through to the demon spirit realm not long ago, as a savage beast, 2 first-level Origin Spirit Realm cultivators might not be able to do anything to a first-level demon spirit realm savage beast. "Kid, you're the one who killed my brother. Now that you've fallen into my hands, you'll be begging for death." A gray-robed, middle-aged man stepped out with killing intent in his eyes. He was Tao Qiansheng. Just a moment ago, he personally led a small team of adventurers to search the vicinity. When he sensed the commotion, he raised his head and saw the blazing savage bird, which was why he rushed out. "Adventurers? You must be Tao Qiansheng." Yi's gaze landed on Tao Qiansheng. This person didn't have the symbol of the Black Fiend sect on him, but he had the aura of an Origin Spirit Realm cultivator. From the information he obtained from the adventurers that he captured, Yi guessed that this person should be the leader of the adventurers, Tao Qiansheng. Hello! A thunderous roar came from the snow jade savage ape. Sensing the commotion, it didn't continue to tangle with the Black Fiend sect's Origin Spirit Realm cultivator. Evil creature. Seeing the snow jade savage ape rushing over, the face of one of the Black Fiend sect's Origin Spirit Realm cultivators sank. He immediately threw a punch over. His Yuan Qi surged, and a dark black earth attribute Yuan Qi whistled, giving off a powerful aura. The snow jade savage ape furiously roared. Its body glowed as it threw a punch over. Bang! The muffled sound of the collision was like thunder. Strong winds swept across the surroundings, sending dust flying into the air like a storm. Chapter 118. The snow jade barbaric ape's figure staggered, but its huge body immediately appeared in front of Yi, standing side by side with Yi. Obviously, it wanted to protect Su Yi. Looking at the firebird and snow jade barbaric ape beside him, Su Yi felt warmth in his heart. In this world where the strong were respected, only these savage beasts seemed fierce and violent, but they were much better than most people. In times of danger, they would advance and retreat together. Two first-level demon spirit realm savage beasts. Tao Tianqing looked at the blazing barbaric bird and snow jade barbaric ape beside Su Yi. His gaze was gloomy, but at the same time, he rejoiced that the black fiend sex people were here. These were actually two first-level demon spirit realm savage beasts. If he had really encountered them, he would be the unlucky one. No wonder so many people from the expedition team came out to look for this kid, but they were all killed. It should be this kid. There's no doubt about it. Capture him alive. Some of the Black Fiend Sect's Yuan Spirit Stage experts sized Su Yi up for a moment and very quickly confirmed that this was indeed the kid that their sect was looking for, the one who had killed their young sect master. This time, they would absolutely not let him go. Deal with those two savage beasts. We must capture this kid alive. A middle-aged man in black robes spoke. His eyes were filled with an ominous glint, and his body was shrouded in a fiendish aura. He seemed to be the one with the highest status among the group. Asterisk boom. Asterisk in an instant, several figures flew out. They didn't hold back their origin spirit realm aura as they charged towards the snow jade barbaric ape and blazing barbaric bird. $Q G. The snow jade barbaric ape roared as it pounded its chest and stomped its feet. An ominous glint flashed in its eyes as it charged towards the two origin spirit realm experts from the Black Fiend sect. The blazing barbaric bird was heavily injured, but at this moment, it was still struggling to charge out. Su Yi wanted to help, but it was too late. A gray-robed figure appeared, his eyes cold. "Little bastard, you can't escape this time." At the same time, the gray-robed figure, Tao Tianqing, appeared in front of Su Yi and punched towards Su Yi's chest with a fist wrapped in blazing fire, a tribute Yuan Qi. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, Su Yi knew that he was no match for an origin spirit realm expert. However, he had no choice but to do so. Yuan Qi shuttled through his meridians before converging. Veins began to surface on his face, making him look even more ferocious. Overlord Fist. At the same time, Su Yi let out a loud shout. A terrifying Yuan Qi energy erupted like a volcano and instantly reopened within his fist, colliding with Tao Tianqing. At this moment, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the two fists collided. Everyone saw that Su Yi's fist was shining brightly, and his fist seemed to have swelled up. Faint sounds of wind and thunder could be heard, like the rumbling of thunder. It was as if an overlord had awakened and an emperor had descended, and a huge pressure spread out. Asterisk bang. Asterisk as the two fists collided, a huge gust of wind formed into a chi wave that shot out like a hurricane. Asterisk puff. Asterisk a mouthful of blood spurted out from Su Yi's mouth as his body was sent flying backwards, heavily smashing into a rock. The rock cracked and shattered as Su Yi's body rolled on the ground, blood dripping from his mouth. However, he immediately stood up and wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth. His complexion was pale, and his expression was grave. Asterisk thud, thud. Asterisk Tao Tianqing's figure swayed as shock appeared in his eyes. He had not used his full strength earlier, but he had definitely used enough strength. His goal was to cripple this brat in one blow and leave this brat's life to the Black Fiend sect. However, although the brat was injured, he did not seem to be in any serious condition. Most importantly, Tao Tianqing was very clear about the strength behind that brat's punch. The aura was too powerful. Although his cultivation was at the 7th level of the origin spirit realm, his aura and strength were comparable to an ordinary 3rd or 4th level of the origin profound stage practitioner. There was indeed something strange about this brat. Very strange. The reason why the Black Fiend sect's origin spirit realm practitioners did not stop Tao Tianqing earlier was because they wanted to test out Su Yi's strength. At this moment, they were secretly shocked. Su Yi scanned his surroundings. The situation of the Snow Jade Barbaric Ape and Blazing Barbaric Bird was not looking good. He could not even deal with one of the remaining 5 Origin Spirit Realm practitioners, let alone 5 of them. After being secretly shocked, Tao Qianqing's expression turned even colder. This brat was too strange. From the brat he had obtained, this brat seemed to have improved tremendously in a short period of time. At the beginning, he was not at the 7th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. Furthermore, he was already trembling in fear at the 7th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. If he broke through to the Origin Profound stage, he would likely be a threat to Tao Qianqing. Therefore, Tao Qianqing could not leave this brat alive today. Brat, let's see how many more times you can withstand. As his voice faded, Tao Qianqing prepared to attack again. My Black Fiend Sex men are not yours to deal with. The Black Fiend Sex Origin Spirit Realm leader waved his hand as he coldly stared at Tao Qianqing, blocking Tao Qianqing. Tao Qianqing's expression was somewhat ugly as his face alternated between green and red. However, he truly did not dare to attack again. The Black Fiend sect was an existence that he absolutely could not afford to offend. In the end, he could only vent all his anger on Su Yi, and the gaze he directed at Su Yi grew even more malevolent. Brat, are you going to surrender yourself? Or do you want us to make you suffer? The Black Fiend Sex Origin Spirit Realm leader stared straight at Su Yi. Although this brat was a little strange, an Origin Spirit Realm practitioner was indeed nothing in his eyes. Chila, Su Yi untied the 1,000-pound broken sword on his back and stabbed it into the ground beside him. Instantly, his entire body felt much more relaxed. Come at me if you have the ability. So what if you're at the Origin Spirit Realm? Looking at the several Origin Spirit Realm practitioners, Su Yi stuffed a healing pill into his mouth and secretly refined it, circulating its medicinal properties throughout his body. Today's situation was already a hopeless situation. Su Yi knew that this situation was far more dangerous than any of the situations he had encountered in the past few years, and that he would most likely not be able to escape this calamity. However, surrendering had never been Su Yi's character. They were only at the Origin Spirit Realm, so he would still fight. Brat, you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. The Black Fiend Sex Origin Spirit Realm leader did not want to waste any more time. Whoever was the first to capture this brat would gain a great merit, and he could not allow this merit to be snatched away by others. Chila, as his words rang out, this person immediately made his move. Stomping his foot on the ground, his figure shot forward like a flash of light as a claw extended out. Golden light flickered at the tip of his finger. This was metal attribute Yuan Qi, extremely swift and fierce, while carrying a faint blood fiend Qi. Soaring 100 transformation steps, having already untied the 1,000-pound broken sword on his back, Su Yi's speed greatly increased. Yuan Qi swirled beneath his feet as he swiftly dodged the swift and fierce claw. Chapter 119. The former was flabbergasted. His opponent, a 7th-level Yuan Spirit Realm practitioner, was actually able to dodge his attack. It was indeed strange. Lowering his claw, he transformed it into a fist. Changing his footwork, he instantly sent a punch explosively towards Su Yi's back. Su Yi was already lucky to have avoided the former's first attack. It was also due to the former's carelessness. At this moment, even if he had the soaring 100 steps, he was still only a 7th-level Yuan Spirit Realm practitioner. The difference was too great, and he was already unable to dodge. Tyrannical fist. Su Yi quickly turned around. Unable to dodge, the tyrannical fist once again exploded out. Bang! Poochie! The two fists collided. A muffled sound rang out, and a violent gale swept out. Su Yi spurted blood from his mouth as his body was directly sent flying. He heavily smashed onto the ground, causing debris to fly everywhere. Facing a high-level Yuan Spirit Realm practitioner, Su Yi was no longer able to resist. The difference between them was no longer just a few levels. There were also two huge realms, the Yuan Spirit Realm and the Yuan spirit realm. Those were two whole realms. Su-Yi vomited blood. It was as if his internal organs had been struck by lightning. His qi and blood were in turmoil, and his Yuan qi was in chaos from the impact. He had suffered heavy injuries. If not for the former intentionally sparing his life, the previous attack would have been enough to end his life. But even so, Su-Yi was currently smashed onto the ground, and it was difficult for him to even crawl back up. Awu, sensing Su-Yi's situation, the blazing barbaric bird and snow jade barbaric ape roared furiously as they erupted with all their strength. Their malevolence and ferocity reached the peak. However, they were both blocked by two Yuan spirit realm practitioners and were simply unable to escape. Relying on its enormous body and physical defense, the snow jade barbaric ape forcibly withstood several attacks and suffered heavy injuries. It wanted to rescue Su-Yi, but was blocked once again in the end. The Black Fiend Sect's high-level Yuan spirit stage expert who was leading the group did not delay in the slightest when Su-Yi's body smashed into the ground. The great merit was already within his reach, and it was truly a blessing from his ancestors. If this merit was rewarded by the sect master, it would be enough for him to reap countless benefits. Brat, surrender! With a deep roar, the figure of this high-level Yuan spirit stage expert from the Black Fiend sect shot out. With a shake of his 5 fingers, sharp golden Yuan Qi shot out like 5 rays of light, forming an enormous Yuan Qi claw imprint. With a sharp aura, it swooped down, intending to capture Su-Yi alive. The formless and terrifying aura seemed to have affected the void. Su-Yi's body, which was already struggling to get up, immediately fell to the ground. He was already powerless to resist. Don't tell me I'm going to suffer a calamity here. No, that's not the result I want. Su-Yi roared inwardly. He was struggling with all his might, and blue veins popped out on his face, making him look even more ferocious. I can't let this happen to me. I have to fight. I have to continue fighting. Su-Yi roared in his heart. He was unwilling to accept this. His grandfather had not recovered, his parents were still missing, Warner had not been entrusted to him, and he had not even stepped onto the Saint Mountain. How could he suffer such a calamity? Unwilling, unyielding. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, it seemed that the unyielding will in Su-Yi's heart had taken effect. The mysterious ball of light in his mind seemed to have been attracted by it. It suddenly trembled, and rays of light began to diffuse out. Crackle. But at that moment, the fierce claw imprint had already descended. It was incomparably sharp as it crushed the void. How could an Essence Soul Realm cultivator possibly contend against an Essence Spirit Realm cultivator, and a high-level one at that? Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk in this instant, right at this critical moment, a gigantic golden streak of light shot across the sky. Like a ferocious golden streak of lightning, it smashed directly against the golden claw imprint of the Black Fiend Sect's Yuan Spirit Stage practitioner with an inconceivable speed and angle. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk under such an impact, the surrounding rubble shot out. The golden light was like a wave, and a terrifying force swept out. Asterisk thud, thud. Asterisk under the terrifying impact, the expression of the high-level Yuan Spirit Stage expert from the Black Fiend sect abruptly changed. He staggered back a dozen steps before stabilizing his body. 4th-level Demon Spirit Realm. When he stabilized his body, the high-level Yuan Spirit Stage expert from the Black Fiend sect couldn't help but exclaim. His gaze instantly fell onto the savage beast expert that had suddenly appeared. A huge golden python was coiled up in front of him. Its head was erect, and its entire body was covered in golden scales. Its ferocious eyes were sinister, and its scarlet tongue made one's heart palpitate with a single glance. Golden python, how can it be so strong? The high-level Yuan Spirit Stage expert from the Black Fiend sect recognized that it was a golden python. Although it was clearly a 4th-level Demon Spirit Realm golden python, it was able to cause him, a 6th-level Yuan Spirit Stage expert, to suffer quite a bit. Logically speaking, a savage beast like the golden python shouldn't possess such strength. Furthermore, he had killed more than one golden python in the barbarian demon forest. Therefore, he was more familiar with the golden python. It seemed that the golden python before him, whether it was the aura or the formless beast aura, was much stronger than the golden pythons he had killed in the past. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, a terrifying aura spread out from Su Yi's body. Dazzling light rippled as a smear of scarlet flames surged out from his eyes. In that instant, a ferocious aura suddenly spread out from Su Yi's body, as if a ferocious beast was awakening. I'll deal with this golden python. You guys go all out and capture that brat, quick. Sensing the aura from Su Yi's body, the high-level Yuan spirit stage expert leading the group inwardly changed his expression. That aura made him faintly feel uneasy, and he didn't dare to be careless. This time, he absolutely couldn't let that brat go. Otherwise, his sect wouldn't let him off. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk wanted to end this battle as quickly as possible. The high-level Yuan spirit stage expert from the Black Fiend sect had already pulled out a heavy hammer from his back. Radiating with light, Yuan Qi leaked out as he smashed it towards the golden python. Hiss! The golden python didn't stop at all. Its huge, coiling body immediately rushed out as if it had soared into the sky. A ferocious and wild aura was released as it opened its bloody mouth. A beam of blood-red light spurted out from its mouth. It entangled and blocked the former in a flash. Swish! Swish! Chila! The remaining 4 Essence Spirit Stage practitioners did not dare to be careless, as they had also sensed the strangeness of Su Yi's current state. Just a moment ago, he had clearly been so heavily injured that he was unable to climb to his feet. However, in the next instant, there was still that frightening aura erupting from within his body, as though he was about to awaken something. They had to capture him alive as soon as possible. Otherwise, if an unforeseen event truly occurred, none of them would be able to escape the heavy punishment. Gee, look at him, one little K said. The attacks of 4 Essence Spirit Stage practitioners, consisting of claw imprints, fist techniques, and weapons, simultaneously enveloped Su Yi from all 4 directions. Chapter 120. However, at this moment, the attacks of the 4 Yuan Spirit Stage experts had already landed, enveloping him from all 4 directions. Wild and ferocious gales of energy spread out, akin to mini tornadoes that were capable of crushing everything. Before they could reach Su Yi's body, the ground around Su Yi had already started to crack. If these 4 attacks were to land on Su Yi's body at the same time, it would likely be enough to cause Su Yi's body to immediately be in a mess. Gee! Roar! The roars of savage beasts could be heard, the sound waves piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks as they howled through the mountain forests. Their auras were incomparably wild and ferocious. Swish, 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 swish. Just as the 4 fierce and bloody attacks were about to envelop Su Yi's body from all directions, several rays of light shot out from all directions like lightning with a wild and ferocious momentum. Rays of light spread out as a dazzling brilliance and ferocious aura spread out, simultaneously protecting Su Yi from all directions. Several rays of light spread out, linking together to form a dazzling light barrier. This light barrier was like a Yuan Qi barrier, yet it was not a Yuan Qi barrier. Malevolent figures of beasts seemed to appear on it, sparkling with brilliance. Faint beastly roars could be heard spreading out, accompanied by an extremely mighty and overbearing aura, giving off an aura that did not allow for any provocation. Rumble! Everything happened as fast as lightning. The attacks of the 4 Yuan Spirit Stage experts landed at practically the same time, but were blocked by the light energy barrier. Instantly, the sounds of energy colliding were like thunder, as gales of energy were reflected, forming a vast and mighty force that swept out in all directions, causing sand and pebbles to fly about, turning the place into a complete mess. What is this? This sudden turn of events caused the expressions of the 4 Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend sect disciples to instantly change. This strange light barrier was actually able to block the combined attacks of the four of them at the same time. Wasn't this a little too valiant? Rumble. The rays of light disappeared under several stunned gazes. A big tiger, a scarlet little marten, a white bird, a black rat the size of a baby, and a pure white as jade butterfly spread its wings. All of them surrounded Su-Yi from all directions, tightly protecting Su-Yi from all directions, using their own bodies to protect Su-Yi. So many savage beasts, all of them at the demon spirit stage. What's going on? The sudden turn of events caused the expressions of the Yuan spirit stage Black Fiend sect disciples to greatly change. These were all demon beasts at the demon stage. From their auras, they seemed to be at the third level of the demon spirit stage, only weaker than the golden python. Are these demon beasts protecting their master? Why are they protecting that brat? An Yuan spirit stage Black Fiend sect disciple exclaimed in shock. This was a little too shocking. All these demon spirit stage savage beasts were actually protecting that brat at this moment. The sight of so many demon spirit stage savage beasts protecting their master was shocking. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that such a scene would happen. These savage beasts that had always been devouring and killing humans were actually protecting their master with all their might. Just what was going on? Or was there a huge secret on that brat's body? Boom! In an instant, Su-Yi's aura rose to the peak. The scarlet color in his eyes covered his entire pupils. At this moment, Su-Yi's aura was no longer weak. Instead, it was as if a volcano had erupted from his body, emitting a majestic and destructive aura. Latest percent C chapter W section F upper K. When this aura spread out, the big tiger, white mystic bird, scarlet little marten, black rat, and the others that had just arrived immediately prostrated themselves in respect. Even the snow jade barbaric ape, golden python, and blazing barbaric bird that were fighting seemed to be attracted by something. They roared and howled as they fought, their auras growing stronger. Just what's going on with that brat? Why is he suddenly so much stronger? Where did all these essence spirit stage savage beasts come from? Tao Tianqing was stunned as he stared at Su-Yi. He seemed to have yet to recover from the deep shock. You want to kill me? Then all of you can go and die. As Su-Yi stepped forward, his eyes were already scarlet red, while the aura around his body had already reached its peak. The heavy injuries on his body seemed to have completely recovered. Sweeping his gaze across the few Yuan spirit stage practitioners from the Black Fiend sect, scarlet red light surged within his eyes. With a stomp of his foot, he directly pounced towards the nearest Yuan spirit stage practitioner from the Black Fiend sect. Brat, trying to act mysterious. Are you courting death? Although the Black Fiend sect's Yuan spirit stage cultivator was shocked by the aura and changes in Su-Yi's body, he knew that the brat was only at the 7th level Yuan spirit stage. Even if he was able to mysteriously recover, how much could he recover? As his voice rang out, he directly sent a fist explosively rumbling towards Su-Yi. Since the sect wanted to capture him alive, he did not dare to use his weapon. He was afraid that if he accidentally killed this brat, not only would he not have any merit, he would also have to bear the consequences. Kill! A stern and majestic voice was spat out from Su-Yi's mouth. With a shout, his fist collided with the others. Rays of light covered their fists. Their auras were berserk and scorching, filled with a sense of destruction. Bang bang. As the two fists collided, gales of energy instantly erupted. A muffled sound rang out, followed by a miserable shriek. The Yuan spirit stage Black Fiend sect disciple that had collided with Su-Yi's fist started to have his arm shatter and shatter. His entire arm directly exploded apart. Accompanied by a miserable shriek, blood wildly spurted from his mouth as his body was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. Everyone was stunned. Wasn't that brat at the Yuan spirit stage? How did he suddenly become so terrifying? Exactly what was going on? Kill! With a shout, killing intent gushed out from Su-Yi's scarlet eyes. Without the slightest pause, the 100 shaking steps under his feet seemed to automatically move as he continued to rush towards the second Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect disciple. Bang! The Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect disciple was in a daze. Only after regaining his senses did he subconsciously dare to resist, as he immediately retreated in panic. Die! However, at this moment, Su Yi's speed suddenly increased by countless times. His figure instantly appeared in front of the Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect disciple, as his fist smashed into the latter's chest. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, as the former's chest was pierced through. Blood flowed out in a tragic manner, as he was instantly killed. Run! The two remaining Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect disciples who had just attacked looked at each other, their faces deathly pale. Yuan Qi surged beneath their feet, as they were about to condense into Yuan Qi and transform in a flying monstrous beast to escape. Die! As the cold and indifferent shout rang out, one of the figures had just shot out. Yuan Qi had just formed beneath his feet. Just as he was about to rapidly soar into the air, he suddenly felt an enormous force surge from behind him, forcefully pulling him down. A palm had already locked onto the back of his neck. Chapter 121. But it was too late. Before he could even finish his words, his neck had been crushed. Chakla, blood splattered from the head as it was fiercely tossed out by Su Yi. Like a cannonball, it smashed into the body of the second Black Fiend Sect's Origin Spirit Stage practitioner, who had just soared into the air and fled. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as blood splattered. The second Yuan Spirit Stage practitioner was instantly smashed by the head. Blood spurted from his mouth as his body heavily smashed into the ground. Blood splattered everywhere as he instantly lost his life. The entire process was completed in a single breath. Brutal, powerful, tyrannical, and destructive. How can this be? Isn't this brat at the Yuan Spirit Stage? This is impossible. Tao Tiansheng was stunned as he foolishly stood where he was, fear and shock filling his eyes. At this moment, such a youth was akin to an emperor that could not be provoked, a fierce and sinister god of death. How bloody and violent was this? The leading 6th-level Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect practitioner was in the middle of an intense battle with the Golden Python. Naturally, he was able to see the situation around him from the corner of his eyes, causing him to instantly tremble in shock. The expressions of the other 4 Yuan Spirit Stage Black Fiend Sect practitioners who were besieging the Snow Ape and Firebird instantly changed as their attacks were greatly affected. Who dares to kill my Black Fiend Sect disciples? Do you want to die? Suddenly, a fierce roar like that of a night dove sounded from afar. Swoosh! Following the fierce roar, a figure shot over from the distant mountain range like lightning. In just a few flashes, the person who had arrived was accompanied by a chilling and intimidating aura. It was an old man in his 50s. His figure was a head taller than the average person and was as thin as a match. A brown robe covered his body, making him look like a skeleton wearing a robe. This person was Black Fiend Sect's protector, Heijio. Floating in the air, he stood there. Such a cultivation level was enough to prove that he had surpassed the Yuan Spirit Stage and had at least reached the Yuan True Stage. Protector Heijio, hurry and take action. It's this brat. He's too strange. He's killed quite a few of our people. When the 6th-level Yuan Spirit Stage practitioner who was fighting with the Golden Python saw the newcomer, his shocked expression immediately turned into joy. The other members of the Black Fiend Sect and Tao Tiansheng were also overjoyed. Guardian Heijio frowned as he glanced at the savage beasts. Then he fixed his gaze on Sui. His cheeks were fleshless, his cheekbones were high, and his forehead was protruding. Wujio's eyes were deep like a night dove in the forest. He coldly said, "You are the brat who killed my Black Fiend School's young master." At this moment, Suyi's eyes were red like small suns as he stared at Heijio. He did not reply, but a turbulent aura suddenly burst out from his body, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Boom! Suddenly, Su-Yi stomped his foot on the ground. Instantly, cracks began to spread out from the soles of his feet. Boom! At the same time, Su-yi borrowed the force of this stomp to shoot into the air. Like a cannonball, he shot towards Guardian Heijio. Little bastard, you're courting death. Although Heijio was slightly astonished, this brat's cultivation seemed to be different from the rumors. In fact, this aura made him feel uneasy for no reason. However, Heijio was after all a genuine Yuan true stage practitioner, surpassing the Yuan spirit stage. His gaze turning cold, Heijio quickly waved his hand. His palms rapidly formed a seal as a bloody and cold aura condensed in front of him, instantly transforming into numerous dark black energy arrows. These energy arrows were incomparably sharp and gave off a deep glint. With a sweep of his long sleeve, dozens of sharp and cold energy arrows shot towards Su-yi. Swish, 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 swish. These energy arrows just happened to completely envelop Su-yi's body. This level of control was already extraordinary. Su-yi's body hovered in the air without any movement. At this moment, rings of invisible and hot aura covered his surroundings like a thin film. Crack, crack! Before the dozens of dark and cold energy arrows could even approach Su-yi, they were instantly shattered, turning into energy that scattered. This change caused Heijio's expression to darken as his eyebrows furrowed slightly. Black Fiend Sect, you deserve to die. Su-yi's attack did not decrease. His body hovered in the air as he raised his arm and sent a palm out. Blazing aura surged from the palm as it swept towards Heijio. Heijio's expression was dark and cold as a fist covered in a bloody and cold aura instantly smashed out. Bang! This was the first time they had faced each other head-on. A muffled, thunder-like sound rang out as the energy shockwave swept out like a hurricane. Feeling the eruption of this aura, the power could be said to have reached the point of destruction. Too strong. Below, Tao Tianqing and several other Yuan spirit stage practitioners were dumbstruck as they stared at the energy storm that had erupted in the sky, unable to regain their senses. Roar! Squeak, squeak! At this moment, the few wild beasts that had arrived later had already entered the fray, pouncing towards Tao Tianqing. The big tiger and the giant black rat even forcefully interfered, replacing the snow ape and firebird. Chi, 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 chi. Low in the air, Su-yi's body fell backwards, stumbling as he landed. However, after a few steps, he stomped his foot on the ground and forcefully stabilized his body. On the other hand, in the sky, Wu Jio's body directly flew back over 100 feet before stabilizing his body. His gloomy gaze locked on his Su-yi. Heijio's expression was extremely ugly. Was this really the Yuan spirit stage, brat that was said to be only at the Yuan spirit stage? He was at the Yuan Jin stage, but in the previous clash, Heijio knew that he did not have much of an advantage. The terrifying aura on that brat's body was still causing his fist to feel numb. Brat, no matter what, you won't be able to escape today. Heijio's expression darkened. Without any delay, the wild beasts were wreaking havoc all around them, and the remaining people were already surrounded by the wild beasts. This brat must be captured, and he also had to deal with the extreme wild beast to rescue them. Rumble. Heijio's body was surrounded by a bloody and cold aura, and black earth attribute Yuan Qi began to appear on his withered palm. However, this earth attribute Yuan Qi was accompanied by a cold aura at this moment, invisibly connecting with the energy of heaven and earth in the air. At the Yuan Jun stage, the Yuan Qi within one's body was already able to resonate with the energy of heaven and earth, and this was also a representation of a Yuan Jin stage. Only when one's Yuan Qi was exposed, resonating with heaven and earth, and then controlling and guiding it, could one truly move in the air and unleash a terrifying power when attacking. The Yuan Jin stage was beyond the Yuan spirit stage. This was the advantage of the stage, an almost insurmountable advantage of the stage. Yuan Jin Realm. Although Yuan Jin Realm was not considered the strongest in the world, it was still an extremely powerful realm. However, it could definitely be said that the Yuan Jun stage was the true dividing line between a warrior and a powerhouse. After reaching the Yuan spirit stage, one would be called a powerhouse. Chapter 122. At the Yuan Zhen realm, Yuan Qi resonated with the energy of heaven and earth, allowing one to truly walk in the air. This made all the warriors in the world yearn for and fear. The Yuan Soul Realm, the Yuan Profound Realm, and the Yuan Spirit Realm. In terms of attack power, practitioners at these few realms relied on the energy formed from their own Yuan Qi. It was very easy for them to exhaust themselves to the point of exhaustion. Just like Su Yi, as long as he used hegemonic Dao and ate Desolation Rage twice, it would be enough to exhaust him. However, it was different after reaching the Yuan Zhen realm. Yuan Qi could communicate with the energy of heaven and earth, which was much more powerful than relying solely on Yuan Qi. There were rumors that if one could reach the legendary Yuan Emperor realm, one could channel the energy of heaven and earth with a raise of one's hand. It was enough to move mountains, drain seas, and shatter the heavens. With a flip of one's hand, one could kill thousands of soldiers and horses, reverse the flow of rivers, and destroy mountains and rivers. Abyssal Claw, a sinister roar resounded. Heijio had already pounced down. Under the fierce and bloody aura of the claw, the surrounding space was slightly distorted as it pressed down on Su Yi. Open for me. Su Yi stared at the claw imprint, and instead of retreating, he advanced. His eyes were red like blazing flames, and the light in his eyes intensified. Instantly, a scorching aura that covered the sky and earth erupted. He shook his arm and directly punched out. This punch was wrapped in a red energy light. Then, with the sound of wind and thunder, it suddenly collided with the former's claw. Bang! At the place where the two collided, there was a thunderous explosion. The surrounding space was also rumbling. Then, a terrifying gale of energy surged and exploded. Dang dang! Su Yi staggered back a dozen steps. With each step, the ground under his feet cracked. Puff! At the last step, Su Yi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His body went soft, and his legs trembled. It seemed that he couldn't bear something and directly knelt on the ground. K9N. Heijio also staggered back. However, he only took a few steps to stabilize his body. I understand now. Your power isn't yours at all. No wonder. Seeing this scene, Heijio, who had a shocked expression, finally understood, and a cold smile appeared on his face. No wonder this brat was different from the rumors. It turned out that the brat wasn't using his own power at all. However, this also meant that there were indeed many strange things about this brat. Although I do not know what is so strange about your body, your Yuan spirit stage is really too weak. It seems that you are unable to endure such enormous power. Bojiu could see that something was amiss. An essence soul realm brat withstanding such a powerful force was simply courting death. He was courting his own death. As soon as he finished speaking, he attacked again. Yi Jiu's figure flew out, and at the same time, he waved his hand. His brown robe fluttered, and a fist directly smashed toward Su Yi. Feeling the bloody and cold aura, the crimson light in Su Yi's eyes did not diminish. After a moment of silence, he suddenly struggled to his feet. He raised his arm and fiercely punched out with a blazing aura. Just as Heijio had seen, the power that Su Yi was using did not belong to him, but came from the mysterious space in his mind. As if drawn by the unwillingness, stubbornness, and tenacity in the depths of Su Yi's soul, the mysterious space erupted with light. At this moment, an invisible energy spread out from the mysterious space and poured into Su Yi's body. This power was too great. Although Su Yi's body was strong, it could not bear such power. However, it was fortunate that Su Yi's body was strong. Otherwise, if it had been an ordinary cultivator of the same level, Su Yi would have already been killed. Rumble. Everything happened very quickly. The two fists immediately collided. With a muffled roar, a violent aura erupted. A strong wind spread out, and Su Yi's figure staggered back again. The powerful force poured into the ground through the tips of his feet, causing the ground where he stepped to crack. Poochie. spitting out blood again. Su Yi's body swayed and went limp again. Then, he knelt on one knee again, blood flowing from his mouth. Heijio was also shaken back, but soon stabilized his body. Hee. It seems that the mysterious power in your body is not weak. Unfortunately, you are really courting death. I can't be bothered to tangle with you. Let's end this quickly. Heijio sneered. He was really a little afraid that Su Yi would explode and die. This kid seemed to be very strange. Capturing this kid might be an opportunity for him. He could not miss it. As Heijio's voice fell, a strange aura suddenly surged out from his body. It seemed to be full of vitality, but it also carried a bloody and cold aura. Then, around his body, it condensed into dark vines. This was the condensation of wood attribute Yuan-Chi energy. Heijio also had wood attribute Yuan-Chi energy. Those who oppose me will die. Su Yi fought again. He clenched his teeth and looked at Heijio's movements in front of him. After a moment of silence, without any hesitation, the blazing aura on his body surged out and became more and more intense. At this moment, from Su Yi's body, a scarlet light materialized like an open fire. His eyes were also covered in a scarlet color. This blazing aura caused the surrounding space to become slightly distorted and illusory. No, it's still increasing. What level of external force does this kid have? How can it be so strong? Feeling the aura released from Su Yi's body at this moment, Heijio's deep eyes suddenly shrunk. A deep shock flashed across the depths of his eyes. Pucci. Crack, crack. In the midst of the blazing aura, Su Yi's mouth once again flowed with blood. Even his body began to show signs of cracking. The blazing aura gushed out from the inside out. Black smoke rose from the surface of his body. It was crimson red, as if it would melt at any time. Some parts of his body even exploded with cracks, and his flesh was badly mutilated. At this moment, Su Yi was like a man of blood. Blood flowed everywhere, and the veins on his face were exposed. It only made him look more ferocious. He's still releasing external force. Does this kid really want to commit suicide? Heijio trembled. Looking at the ferocious Su Yi, he could not help but shudder. Su Yi knew that he had indeed persevered until the end. The power gushing out from a mysterious space in his mind was enormous. However, he could not use much of it. Su Yi was affected by the frightening and mysterious power gushing out from the mysterious space, but he still had his own awareness. He knew that if he did not deal with this expert from the Black Fiend sect, he would be in real trouble. He did not want to die, and he could not die. Boom! Seeing that the former seemed to be ready to kill him in one blow, Su Yi immediately decided that no matter what, he had to release all of his power. Otherwise, he would not be able to deal with the strongest expert from the Black Fiend sect. After completely releasing the mysterious power from the mysterious space, Su Yi's body was now bleeding. The surface of his body had exploded, and the meridians in his body were about to burst. His body was in incomparable pain from the inside out. Chapter 123. That mysterious power contained an aura that could not be provoked. It was majestic and destructive, as if it wanted to destroy all who dared to provoke it. At this moment, Su Yi's mind was in a daze. Under the influence of this aura, he wanted to destroy all enemies. Crack, crack. Su Yi's body could no longer bear that terrifying, mysterious power. His skin began to split open, and blood flowed out. If it wasn't for Su Yi's sturdy body, his body would have exploded and he would have died. However, Su Yi did not seem to feel the pain in his body. His eyes were completely red, and the aura on his body was getting more and more violent. Bojo seemed to have sensed something as he stared intently at Su Yi. Even the attack that he was preparing had paused for a moment. He was waiting. Maybe he did not need to do anything. That kid would explode and die. Maybe he could even find some benefits at that time. If that kid exploded and died, Heijio did not want to get close. He felt that if that terrifying power exploded, he would also be injured. Blood flowed out of Su Yi's body. The aura on his body was still erupting. His hand seals began to form, as if he was guiding that terrifying, mysterious aura. Uffed, Su Yi spat out blood, and his body exploded. In a daze, Su-yi knew that he could not die today. He had to destroy all enemies, no matter the cost. The mysterious power condensed in his hand. Su-yi forcibly guided it, and it condensed into a ball in his palm. It gradually turned into a fist-sized ball of light. It was incomparably red, like a small sun. The more this mysterious power condensed, the more power Su-yi's body could bear, and the more cracks there were on his body. Bang, bang. Su-yi's back also began to crack, and blood splattered. However, the ball in his palm was already the size of a baby. The violent power contained a majesty that could not be challenged. The ball of light was clearly red, but it was like lightning, as if it would explode at any time. What's going on? Is he going to succeed? Heijio's expression changed drastically as he sensed the violent world energy fluctuations around the crimson ball of light in front of Su-yi. It contained a power that made him shudder. Poochie. As the last strand of energy was channeled into the ball of light in front of him, Su-yi's blood and chi surged within his body. He spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale. But at this time, the scarlet ball of light in front of Su-yi had also reached its peak. QY kill. With bloodshot eyes, Su-yi stared at Heijio, who was in front of him. Like a conditioned reflex, he threw himself at Heijio. Whoosh! The crimson ball of light streaked across the void calmly. At this moment, there wasn't even any blazing aura spreading out. But it was precisely because of this that Heijio seemed to feel something. All the hair on his body suddenly stood on end, and a creepy feeling inexplicably spread out from the bottom of his heart. Inwood prison. With a loud shout, Heijio subconsciously gathered an attack in his hand and suddenly swept out. His expression became extremely solemn at this moment. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, a strange aura erupted in front of Heijio. It was full of vitality, but also contained a strong, bloody, and cold aura. After that, numerous dark and blood-colored vines appeared around Bojio's body. They were like dark and blood-colored arrows as they interweaved with each other and enveloped Su-yi. It was as if they had enveloped half of the space around him. The crimson ball of light condensed by Su-yi also streaked across the void at this moment. Just as it was enveloped by the dark blood-colored net of light, the calm ball of light suddenly shrank and then expanded. A terrifyingly scorching aura was instantly released, causing an explosion. At this instant, an earth-shattering explosion resounded through the area. It shot into the sky and shook the heavens and the earth. Rumble! The crimson ball of light exploded. Torrential heat swept out like an erupting volcano. Walala! The blazing energy swept through the void, setting off layers of spatial ripples. It was mixed with the raging flames, spreading out like a hurricane. A tornado swept through the area. Terrifying flames swept out in all directions. In an instant, the temperature of the world suddenly rose. The several Yuan spirit stage practitioners of the Black Fiend sect who were fighting could not help but raise their heads at this moment. All of their hairs stood on end, fear in their eyes. Awoo! When this blazing aura exploded, several savage beasts roared as if they were worshipping it. Walala! Torrential flames surged, and the dark blood-colored vines were instantly and noiselessly destroyed. The surrounding rocks and towering trees were directly destroyed without a sound. Quick dodge! Several Yuan spirit stage practitioners of the Black Fiend sect, Tao Tiansheng, and the rest secretly swallowed their saliva as they saw the flames that swept out from the explosion. Horror and fear spread from the depths of their souls, and they immediately fled with all their might. Awoo! Several savage beasts roared and immediately retreated. The terrifying aura of the flames swept out, and no living creature dared to approach it. Such a terrifying aura swept out a full 300-meter radius before gradually calming down. Everything in the vicinity that was affected was completely destroyed and razed to the ground. At this moment, two figures still stood at the center. Su-yi's figure stood tall and straight. His clothes were tattered, and his eyes were dazzling red. Although his body was covered in blood, He was like a bleeding blade, inexplicably terrifying. Pucci, hey, Gio stared closely at Sui. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his face instantly turned deathly pale. The aura on his body instantly collapsed. Crack, crack. In practically a day's time, Bogio's brown robe exploded apart. Inch by inch, his skin and flesh shattered, causing scarlet red blood to pool and drip ceaselessly. In some places, it was so deep that bone could be seen, and it was a horrifying sight. How is this possible? This is impossible. At this moment, Heijio's expression had long been replaced by fear and shock. He could not believe it, and absolutely did not dare to imagine how he could have been defeated. Those who block me shall die. Sui roared as he stared closely at Heijio. Killing intent that could not be provoked filled his scarlet eyes, and he shot out like a god of death. Retreat, quickly retreat. This loud shout was like a thunderclap exploding in Bogio's ears. Immediately, he trembled in fear. He carried his bloody body and directly soared into the sky to flee, not daring to stay any longer. Run, quickly run. Seeing that even Heijio had fled, Tao Qiansheng and the other Yuan spirit stage practitioners of the Black Fiend sect, who were currently in a miserable state, immediately formed Yuan Qi to form illusory beast figures, and immediately fled into the air. Chapter 124. Oh! The roars of many beasts fell into his ears, and then Sui completely lost consciousness. The shocking battle had ended, and the terrifying commotion had already subsided. The surrounding hundreds of feet was a mess, and the center was destroyed into a flat ground, leaving behind a shocking scene. It's Heijio of the Black Fiend sect. He seems to have escaped. There are also many savage beasts with extraordinary auras. I heard that the Black Fiend sect found the young man who killed the young master of the Black Fiend sect and fought here. It looks like a battle between experts. Could that young man have reached such a level? Many figures appeared in the surroundings. All of them had been attracted by the shocking commotion. The commotion went straight to the sky, attracting the attention of all the creatures in the vicinity. Some mercenary groups and adventurer teams, as well as the passing rogue cultivators, all rushed over at the first moment. In a daze, when Suyi's mind regained consciousness, he suddenly felt an aura that still made his mind tremble. Around him was a void of nothingness, vast and boundless. In the void, Sui felt his mind shuttling back and forth, and there were bursts of wind and thunder all around, as if it came from the ancient times. Oh! Suddenly, in front of the void, a terrifying beast shadow appeared. Its voice was like thunder, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, as if it could shake the ancient times. Oh! In front of him, there were more and more such terrifying beast shadows, each with eyes as blazing as the sun, and some as bright as the moon. Their roars were like thunder, sonorous and ear-splitting. E1. First wave, some of the beasts were like dragons, some were like phoenixes, some were monstrous, and some covered the sky with their wings. These terrifying beast shadows emitted a bright light, but then they were annihilated in the void again, like fireworks being extinguished after the brilliance. But under that terrifying aura, Suyi's mind was numb and throbbing incomparably. In front of him, there were constantly those ancient beast shadows alternating between light and dark, their roars sonorous like thunder. How shocking! If any of these ancient beast shadows really existed, it would be enough to shock the world. Roar! A flood dragon roared. It was unknown how large it was. Half of its body was submerged in the void, and the other half was exposed. Its aura was violent, and its terrifying aura seemed to want to crush Suyi's mind. Gee! The cry pierced through the clouds and cracked open stones. A vicious bird spread its wings and covered the heavens. Its wings directly tore apart the skies, making the heavens collapse and the earth split apart. How shocking was this? Roar! A gigantic tiger roared, the sound waves towering up into the sky. With a stomp of its foot, an ancient mountain was crushed. It glared at Su Yi like a tiger glaring at its prey. It seemed to have sensed Su Yi's will and was staring at him, causing Su Yi's heart to sink. Su Yi was shocked. These beast-shaped phantoms were too powerful. Could it be that these terrifying beasts really existed in this world? Or did they only exist in the endless ancient times and were long buried at the end of the immemorial era? If these great beasts really existed in the archaic era, what kind of era would that be? It would simply be a place where heroes contended for supremacy. At that time, humans probably wouldn't be able to contend against them at all. In this vast void, Su Yi didn't know how many phantoms he had seen. That kind of terrifying pressure was too terrifying. Finally, the phantoms of the great beasts began to disappear completely, and the surrounding aura began to burn. In a daze, Su Yi felt something surging into his body, and there was also some information that fell into his soul. Then, Su Yi discovered that his surroundings were blazing flames. The blazing aura was monstrous, as though it wanted to burn his soul. However, this blazing aura seemed to have a sense of intimacy. In the heat, it also brought an incomparably comfortable feeling to Su Yi's soul. Walala, the blazing flames whistled and fluctuated like ripples, bringing with them a domineering and majestic aura. This aura seemed to be able to suppress the immemorial era and look down on the world. Imperceptibly, Su Yi felt something flowing into his body, surging into his organs, bones, and muscles. Most importantly, this blazing aura seemed to have fused with his mind and soul. Vaguely, Su Yi could feel that this power came from the mysterious ball of light. It was the powerful aura that was used to deal with the Black Fiend sect's protector, Heijio. At this moment, there was still a lot of this aura remaining in Su Yi's body, and it began to fuse with Su Yi. In the spacious cave, Su Yi subconsciously sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. His entire body was shrouded in a dazzling light, as if he was wrapped in scarlet flames. The light intertwined and blazed like the sun. Buzz. Around Su Yi, the space trembled and a divine radiance spread out from his body, emitting waves of fluctuations. It was as if a mysterious power had passed through time and space and descended from the immemorial era. At this moment, Su Yi's bloody and tragic body was visible to the naked eye. A mysterious power surged and began to slowly recover. As time slowly passed, Su Yi's body became more and more sparkling. His entire body was covered in divine radiance, and not even a scar was left behind. Everything was still going on. The light on Su Yi's body became more and more dazzling, and gradually, there were bursts of thunder. There was a mysterious power constantly attacking his body. Sitting cross-legged, Su Yi was motionless. His body was glowing, and the mysterious power in his body was fusing into his body, emitting divine light. At this moment, Su Yi was completely immersed in a strange state. It was as if he was isolated from the outside world, and only the radiance on his body was dazzling. At this moment, Su Yi's aura was gradually rising and gradually reached a peak. Bang! Immediately, in Su Yi's dantian, there was a muffled sound, and a new aura suddenly spread out. In the courtyard of the small town, in the hall, Fu Jiu, who was in a miserable and sorry state, hung his head dejectedly as he stood with his head lowered, and his countenance was ghastly pale. Even though he'd changed into a new robe, it was unable to conceal his miserable and sorry state. The several Yuan spirit stage practitioners behind Heijio were deathly pale and did not even dare to breathe loudly. Trash, go and find him immediately. At the top of the hall, an old man who looked to be in his 60s coldly stared at Bojio. His large black robes covered his shriveled body, while his complexion was slightly pale, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. His eyes were sunken deep into his eye sockets, causing anyone who looked at him to tremble for no reason. If Su Yi was here at this moment, he would definitely be able to recognize that this old man was Elder Bai, who had followed the young master of the Black Fiend sect. Sitting cross-legged, Su Yi withdrew his hand seals, and as he spat out a mouthful of turbid air, he opened his eyes. There was a flicker of light in his eyes, a scarlet red like lightning, bright and dazzling, and then restrained. Golden python, fire-eyed barbaric tiger, scarlet-fired demon marten, white jade mystic bird, silver spirit demonic butterfly, hell rat. Chapter 125. Su-Yi still remembered that when he was fighting with the Black Fiend sect, the golden python appeared first, followed by the fire gold tiger and the other Zuo. Seeing that Su-Yi was awake, the fire gold tiger and the other smiled and growled in a low voice, looking very happy. Hiss! Two little golden snakes appeared out of nowhere and crawled onto Su-Yi's arm, intimately rubbing against Su-Yi's face. "Sir, I missed you. Sir, I missed you too." A young voice entered Su-Yi's ears. "It's you guys." Su-Yi held the two little golden snakes in his palm and found that they were a little bigger than before, and their eyes were more lively. Damn, something's wrong. Suddenly, Su-Yi's eyes widened, and his hair stood on end. He stared at the two golden snakes in his palm and asked in astonishment, "Are you guys talking to me?" Hiss! The two little golden snakes flicked their tongues, making a shuttling sound. "Sir, it's us talking. Sir, what's wrong?" When Su-Yi heard these voices, the two little golden snakes raised their heads and looked curiously at Su-Yi with their lively eyes. "Oh, squeak F. Genuine, initial V hair, sir. Are you all right? Sir, have you recovered?" The chaotic roars of the beasts fell into Su-Yi's ears, but they sounded like the voices of humans. Damn, it's you guys talking. Su-Yi felt his hair stand on end. He looked at the fire gold tiger and the golden python beside him. They were clearly the ones talking. No, it's not them talking. I can understand them. It seems like I can understand the beast's language. Su-Yi was stunned, and his eyes trembled. At this moment, it wasn't the beasts who could speak. Only the beasts who reached the ethereal stage could speak human language. It was clear that he could understand the beast's language. "Sir, what's wrong?" Looking at Su-Yi's appearance, the golden python, the fire gold tiger, and the netherworld rodent were all surprised and looked curiously at Su-Yi. "Sir, you can understand us?" Then, the golden python and the others were also very surprised that Su-Yi could understand their beast language. "You guys brought me here?" Su-Yi took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. He stared at the 6 savage beasts in front of him and asked. His gaze was also fixed on them. "Yes, my lord fainted, so we brought my lord here." The fire-eyed barbaric tiger nodded and looked at Su-Yi curiously. In its eyes, there was a sense of respect that came from the depths of its soul. F***CK, I can really understand the beast's language now. At this moment, Su-Yi was sure that he could understand the beast's language. Su-Yi pondered. Not long ago, he didn't have the ability to do so. Now that he thought about it, it was only recently. Could it be? All of a sudden, Su-Yi thought of some clues. Before he fainted, he seemed to have experienced a boundless void where countless gigantic beasts appeared, their auras suppressing the supreme, ancient, immortal realms. Then, the Origin Supreme technique automatically refined the remnant energy in his body, and a piece of information flowed into his mind. It seemed that because the information and the aura merged with him, he was able to understand the beast's language. 8th level soul essence realm. As he sensed the aura within his body, the corners of Su-Yi's mouth curled into a slight smile. His cultivation had actually reached the 8th level of the essence soul stage. It seemed that he had obtained some benefits after refining the remnant aura. Especially in terms of his soul, Su-Yi could feel that the soul in his mind had become many times stronger and more solid than before. The soul strength that was originally filled with light in his mind seemed to be dyed with a faint layer of scarlet red, and it seemed to be different. The changes in his soul made Su-Yi feel that there was something extremely special about it, and it seemed to have some use in the future. However, Su-Yi couldn't say what it was now. He could only feel that the changes in his soul seemed to be beneficial to him. Immediately, Su-Yi's mind turned solemn as he recalled the situation not long ago. This time, he had almost met with disaster. This time, Su-yi knew very well that it was all because of the mysterious power within the mysterious ball of light that he was able to escape unscathed. That energy was terrifyingly powerful, and when it surged out, it almost caused his body to explode. Su-yi felt that the mysterious ball of light was unfathomable. It contained too many mysteries, and it was actually able to explode with such a huge amount of energy. It allowed him, who was at the 7th level of Soul Essence Realm, to resist an Origin Void stage expert. How powerful was that? Precious treasure. Su-yi was secretly delighted. It seemed that the mysterious ball of light was truly a precious treasure among precious treasures. Afterwards, Su-yi looked around and realized that he was currently in a spacious cave. Beside him were his 1,000-pound broken sword and large saber. When the 6 savage beasts brought him here, they must have brought along one of his weapons. "Where is this place?" Su-yi asked the 6 savage beasts. "My lord, the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon is not far ahead." The golden python spoke, and the beast language that came out from its throat could be clearly understood by Su-yi. Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon. Hearing that, Su-yi's eyes moved. According to Bai Ling, the blood jasper spirit ginseng seemed to have appeared in the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon. At this moment, the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon should be filled with experts from all over, and many people had their eyes on the blood jasper spirit ginseng. As for the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon, Su-yi was very clear about it. From east to west, after passing through the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon, one would arrive at the center of the Barbaric Demon Forest. If one entered from the south, after passing through the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon, one would arrive at the Barbaric Demon Forest. It was rumored that there were many powerful savage beasts inside. It was said that even a force like the Black Fiend sect didn't dare to enter the Barbaric Demon Forest. However, there were still many savage beasts gathered in the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon, and there were many powerful savage beasts among them. Normally, there weren't many people who dared to casually enter the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon, and there was even less people who dared to casually enter the Barbaric Demon Forest. Afterwards, from a 6 savage beasts' beast language, Su-yi found out that the fire-eyed savage tiger, golden python, and the others were planning to enter the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon. Along the way, they coincidentally sensed his aura, so they came looking for him. They never thought that they would encounter him in danger. Chapter 126. Y9's update is the fastest PMO. The inheritance we received is closely related to Lord. We can sense Master's aura within a certain distance. If Master is in danger, we can also sense it within a certain distance. The distance seems to be related to our cultivation. The white jade mystic bird replied to Su-yi. Inheritance. Su-yi was puzzled. We all receive the inheritance in Lord's space, the silver spirit said. The silver spirit butterfly flapped its white, jade-like wings and gently landed on the fiery-eyed barbaric tiger's back. The inheritance is very powerful. That's why we were able to break through so quickly. The scarlet fire devil mink said with satisfaction. In such a short period of time, each of them had made astonishing progress. Su-yi looked at the 6 beasts before him. The golden python's aura seemed to have reached the 4th level of the demon spirit realm. The fiery-eyed barbaric tiger and the rest were all at the 3rd level of the demon spirit realm. How long has it been since they separated? The golden python had just broken through to the 1st level of the demon spirit realm. Su-yi couldn't help but be shocked. Back then, in the mysterious space, Su-yi was puzzled. After the fiery-eyed barbaric ape and the fiery barbaric bird entered, the commotion in the mysterious space was obviously different from when the golden python and the rest entered. Now, after listening to the fiery-eyed barbaric tiger, the scarlet fire devil mink, and the rest, Su-yi realized that the fiery-eyed barbaric tiger, the golden python, and the rest had received a powerful inheritance. That inheritance seemed to be related to him, which was why the 6 beasts listened to him. Where's the fiery-eyed barbaric bird and the snow ape? Thinking of the fiery-eyed barbaric bird and the snow jade barbaric ape, Su-yi suddenly remembered that he hadn't seen them yet. Not long ago, Those two beasts were heavily injured. Lord, they're heavily injured. They're currently recuperating outside, the golden python replied. Hearing the golden python's words, Su-Yi felt relieved. The fiery-eyed barbaric bird and the snow-jade barbaric ape had been with him for a long time. They were heavily injured because of him. This made Su-Yi feel emotional. It seemed that because he cultivated the primordial origin supreme technique, there was some kind of invisible influence. Or perhaps it was because Su-Yi didn't have much of an aversion toward savage beasts. Su-Yi felt safer and more comfortable when he was with these savage beasts than when he was with humans. Why are you going to the Grand Barbarian Demon Canyon? Su-Yi was curious. He didn't know why these savage beasts would want to go to the Grand Barbarian Demon Canyon. Our true goal is the Barbarian Demon Forest. Only there can we grow faster. However, with our current cultivation base, we can only stay in the Barbarian Demon Grand Canyon, said the Barbarian Tiger. The inheritance we obtained told us that only by tempering ourselves can we improve faster. Therefore, we have to go to the Barbarian Demon Grand Canyon. Only there can we become stronger faster, said the Netherworld Rat. Sir, why don't you come with us to the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon? My brother and I have also obtained the inheritance. We also want to temper ourselves and become powerful barbarian demon beasts as soon as possible. The little golden snake on the left looked expectantly at Su-Yi and intimately rubbed itself against Su-Yi's palm. You two also obtained the inheritance. Su-Yi was startled as he looked at the two little golden snakes. Back then, these two little golden snakes' eggshells were also covered in a mysterious radiance. It turned out that these two little fellows had also obtained an inheritance. Go to the Barbarian Demon Canyon with you. Su-Yi raised his eyebrows. That small adventurer team was no longer a concern, but now the Black Fiend sect had their eyes on him. This time, he was lucky enough to scare away Protector Hagio. However, he probably wouldn't be so lucky next time. Su-Yi reckoned that the Black Fiend sect's people should be looking for him all over the world. They must have dispatched many experts and might even have set up many hidden sentries outside the Barbarian Demon Forest. The more dangerous a place is, the safer it is. I'll do the opposite. Suddenly, Su-Yi's eyes flickered as he pondered. He made a decision in his heart. In any case, the Barbarian Demon Canyon was right in front of him. He might as well go to the Barbarian Demon Canyon and temper himself. There were savage beasts everywhere in the Barbarian Demon Canyon. This seemed to be more advantageous for him. Black Fiend sect, you've angered me. If you have the ability to enter the Barbarian Demon Canyon, I'll definitely play with you. Su-Yi muttered to himself as his gaze turned cold. This time, the Black Fiend sect had thoroughly angered Su-Yi. After a moment, Su-Yi changed into a short robe. He had also obtained it from Joda and the other space bags. Once again carrying his sword and saber, Su-Yi walked out of the cave. He immediately saw the blazing barbaric bird and the snow-jade barbaric ape recuperating in a cave not far from the cave. My lord, seeing Su-Yi, the snow-jade barbaric ape and the blazing barbaric bird stopped recuperating. Come in and recuperate. Su-Yi nodded and called out the mysterious space. He let the snow-jade barbaric ape and the blazing barbaric bird enter the mysterious space to recuperate. Recuperation, there would be twice the result with half the effort. Seeing that Su-Yi could actually understand the language of beasts, the blazing barbaric bird and the snow-jade barbaric ape were shocked. Then, they followed Su-Yi's instructions and entered the mysterious space. Be careful when you set off, Su-Yi said to the golden python and the fire-eyed barbaric tiger. Although there were many savage beasts in the Barbarian Demon Canyon ahead, the recent news of the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng had attracted many experts from various places. Therefore, it was better to be careful. In the dense forest, towering trees stood tall and covered the sky. Su-Yi carried his sword and saber on his back as he slowly shuttled through the forest. A few hundred meters ahead, Su-Yi saw more than 30 figures taking a break through the gaps of a towering tree. These 30 figures were all men. The older ones were in their 50s, while the younger ones were in their 20s. The aura on their bodies was quite fierce and bloody. Beside these 30 over people, there were many bulging bags. It seemed like they had gained a lot in the savage demon forest and were planning to leave the savage demon forest. Looking at these people, they seemed to be a small adventurer team. He didn't want to meet them, so he turned around and walked away. He didn't want to cause any trouble. There's a kid over there who hasn't been eaten by a savage beast yet. Someone saw Su-Yi from afar and teased him with a smile. Maybe there's someone else nearby. A kid who's still wet behind the ears couldn't have come here. He would have been eaten by a savage beast long ago. Someone chuckled. Don't you think that kid looks a bit like the one the Black Fiend sect is looking for? Suddenly, someone said as he looked at Su-Yi's back as he turned to leave. His gaze darkened as he revealed a puzzled expression. It can't really be that kid, right? Hearing this, many people became interested and their eyes lit up. The reward given by the Black Fiend sect this time was much more than what they had earned in the past few months of risking their lives in this place. If it's really that kid, then we'll be rich. Let's go take a look. If it's really that kid, then we'll be rich. Chapter 127. Don't you guys feel that the kid looks a little like the one the Black Fiend sect is looking for? Someone suddenly said as they watched Su-Yi's back as he turned to leave. Their gazes darted as they revealed a puzzled and pensive expression. It can't really be that kid, right? Is it? Upon hearing this, many people's interest was immediately piqued as their gazes lit up. The reward given by the Black Fiend sect this time was much more than what they had earned in the past few months of risking their lives in this place. If it's really that kid, we're going to be rich. Let's go take a look. If it's really that kid, we're going to be rich. Many people started to get excited as they stared at Su-Yi's back. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Su-Yi's footsteps paused as his expression darkened a little. Those words clearly fell into his ears. Kid, stop right there. When such shouts entered Su-Yi's ears, several figures immediately rushed towards Su-Yi. Are you guys calling me? Su-Yi turned his head as a cold glint flashed across his eyes as he looked at the approaching figures. That's right. You're the one we're calling. One figure after another stood in front of Su-Yi as their gazes immediately began to size him up. It seems to be this kid. I've seen his portrait before. He looks very similar. Very similar. The crowd discussed as if they were sizing up goods, not placing Su-Yi in their eyes at all. Stay away if you don't want to die. Su-Yi's gaze swept across the figures before him. A small adventurer team of 30 or so people that could not even compare to Tao Tianqing's adventurer team. The strongest amongst them did not even have an Yuan spirit stage cultivation, only a few 9th and 8th level Yuan profound stage cultivators. Upon hearing Su-Yi's words, the figures that had stepped forward were all astonished as they looked at Su-Yi in astonishment. Haha, this kid is really arrogant. It doesn't matter whether he is or not. Let's capture him first. We'll let the Black Fiend School take a look, and then we'll know. Immediately, many voices laughed wildly, not putting Su-Yi in their eyes. Since you chose to die, then die. Su-Yi coldly swept his gaze over as killing intent gushed out from his eyes. These people were nothing in his eyes. Since these people wanted to hand him over to the Black Fiend sect, they deserved to die. Ha, this kid is crazy. He's still wet behind the ears, yet he's so arrogant. This brat is crazy. Everyone laughed wantonly, without any scruples. But suddenly, someone swallowed back the words he was about to say, and his complexion changed greatly. Oh, 6 huge beasts suddenly appeared in the surroundings. There was a vicious bird circling around, a golden python coiling around, and a huge tiger glaring at them covetously. They were indescribably ferocious. The space was shaken, and a storm was set off in the surroundings. Beast, demon spirit realm. Everyone's faces were filled with shock, and their hair stood on end. Under such powerful auras, those were demon spirit realm beasts. 6 demon spirit realm beasts, and there wasn't even a single origin spirit realm cultivator among them. Kill, Su-Yi coldly said as he waved his hand. The fire-eyed tiger, golden python, and other beasts had been following him. Now that they appeared, they could easily wipe out this small adventurer team. Low up in the air, the leaves of the trees fluttered in the wind. The white jade mystic bird and the silver spirit butterfly flapped their wings, creating a huge gale as they swooped down. The white jade mystic bird's sharp claws stretched out, and a powerful aura erupted. Immediately, a person was directly torn apart, blood splashing everywhere. The silver spirit butterfly didn't look big, but when it flapped its wings, the aura in the surroundings turned into a storm. Two people couldn't dodge in time and exploded in the storm. Such a scene was bloody and fierce. Even the members of the adventurer team couldn't help feeling their hair stand on end. Awoo! The fire-eyed tiger, flaming scarlet marten, hell rat, and golden python all pounced out at the same time. Their auras erupted, causing the surroundings to tremble. 6 demon spirit realm beasts pounced out, their sharp claws and fangs covering the sky. Their auras were fierce and merciless. The members of the adventurer team didn't even have the strength to resist. Run, run. These beasts belong to that kid. Save us. In an instant, the faces of the people turned pale as they fled. Only now did they realize that the 6 origin spirit realm beasts belonged to that kid. If they knew earlier, they wouldn't have dared to provoke him. But now that they know, it's too late for regrets. The remaining people wanted to escape, but how could they escape so easily? The fire-eyed tiger opened its mouth and bit down on one of them. Blood flowed out, revealing its sharp fangs. Anyone who saw would feel their hair stand on end. The golden python, flaming scarlet marten, and hell rat were fighting. The stench of blood filled the air, and ear-splitting roars filled the air. The hell rat was as fast as lightning as it bit down on a person's weapon. Its teeth seemed to be indestructible. Then it bit down on that person's head. The scene was too horrible to look at. Several people joined hands to block the golden python. But when the golden python's tail lashed out, the sound of metal clanging could be heard. Several people were sent flying along with their weapons. They vomited mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground, lifeless. Roar! The fire-eyed tiger roared. Its huge tiger claws shone with a cold light. The ground trembled as it smashed a person into meat paste. Kill them all. When can I make my move? 2 golden snakes appeared on Su Yi's shoulder, looking at the battle in front of them. There wasn't any fear in their eyes. Instead, they were filled with yearning. Debeo, Xiaoling, you two cultivate well. Only when your cultivation is strong can you protect yourself in the future. Su Yi said to the 2 golden snakes. No matter if it was himself or his beast, only when they were strong could they protect themselves and everything around them. As for Debeo and Xiaoling, those were the names that Su Yi gave to the 2 golden snakes. Debeo was the older brother, and Xiaoling was the younger sister. Soon, more than 30 people were killed. Not a single one was able to escape. Su Yi was watching indifferently from the side. The weak were prey to the strong. That was how it was. If he didn't have the fire-eyed tiger by his side today, then he would be the unlucky one. Sir, we've cleaned them up. The fire-eyed tiger, flaming scarlet marten, and the others stepped forward. Each of their claws and mouths were still bleeding. Those corpses were almost all swallowed into their mouths. The blood chi in those corpses was undoubtedly a kind of elixir for the beasts. Su Yi nodded. He swept his gaze over the corpses and put them into his spatial bag. This wasn't a place to stay for long. It was better to enter the Barbarian Demon Canyon as soon as possible. Chapter 128. During this time, Su Yi understood that the weak were prey to the strong. With his cultivation base, he wouldn't be able to become a true expert in a short period of time. However, the Black Fiend sect and the adventurer team had reminded him that if he couldn't become a true expert in a short period of time, he might as well rely on the strength of those around him. The fiery tiger, the golden python, and the others were his current strength. 2 hours later, although Su Yi wanted to avoid them, he encountered another group of adventurers. There weren't many of them, only less than 10 people. They carefully sized up Su Yi. These people seemed to have recognized Su Yi and wanted to capture Su Yi. Kill. He ordered the fiery Scarlet Martin and the others to kill these people. It's better to be a bit more careful. He muttered to himself. The Black Fiend sect seemed to have put up a reward for him everywhere. Many people in this forest should have already seen his portrait, so he had to be careful. He took out a cloak and a cloak from those people's bags and covered his face. The cloak also covered the sword on his back. Only then did he continue on his way. Although this attire was even more eye-catching, it wasn't as if no one had entered the barbaric demon forest. Although most of the people in the barbaric demon forest were mercenaries and adventurers, there were also all kinds of people in it. Thus, although Su Yi's outfit was strange and eye-catching, the adventurers he encountered later didn't recognize him. But at dusk, a large piece of flat land appeared in front of him through the mountain range. Many buildings could be seen. The number of adventurers and adventurers in the surroundings also increased. They all seemed to be heading in the same direction. Relay City. He raised his eyes slightly, revealing his eyes. He stared ahead, his eyes moving slightly. Relay City was not rare in the barbarian demon forest, so he wasn't unfamiliar with it. The barbarian demon forest was vast. There were many adventurers and adventurers who needed a place to stay. Moreover, there were many places in the barbarian demon forest that had many residents. There were also many flourishing cities. Otherwise, the Black Fiend sect wouldn't have become such an illustrious power. Even in the outer regions of the barbarian demon forest, adventurers who entered to search for medicinal ingredients wouldn't be able to leave without a few months. On the other hand, not many people could have a dimensional bag, especially those small adventurer teams and mercenary groups. It was unlikely that they would have a dimensional bag, and it was also impossible for them to carry the loot for a month or even longer. In Relay City, other than being a place for people to stay, one could also trade and sell various cultivation resources. There was even wine, material goods, and women. Everything that one could wish for could be found inside. Looking ahead, He hesitated for a moment. Not far ahead was the Barbarian Demon Valley. This should be the only Relay City in the Barbarian Demon Valley. He could go there and buy some medicinal pills for emergencies. Once he reached the Barbarian Demon Valley, he really didn't know when he would be able to leave. The Black Fiend sect probably didn't plan on letting him go. After finding a hidden and safe place, He informed the Golden Python to find a safe place nearby to wait for him. And he took out many things that he didn't need from his spatial bag. He planned on going to the Relay City to exchange for some useful things. Dusk enveloped the mountain range, and the horizon was filled with red clouds. The Relay City was a bit bigger than he had imagined. There was only one road leading into the city, but after entering, it was immediately open. 10,000-year-old four-leaf spirit grass, an absolute treasure. The claws of the cyan glowing bear, a top-quality material for refining weapons. Only available for exchange, no primeval stones required. 100-years-old wine, top-quality wine. Everyone, come and have a taste. He entered the Relay City. Immediately, the clamor of voices filled the air. It was extraordinarily lively. Although this Relay City was called a city, it was actually just 2 streets. On both sides were various shops and restaurants. Behind them were inns for guests to stay. The prices of inns weren't cheap. However, for ordinary martial artists, they could just sit cross-legged outside and meditate for an entire night. Only those who were rich and overbearing would stay there if they wanted to improve the environment and comfort themselves. It wasn't the first time he had come to this kind of Relay City. When he was in the Barbarian Demon Forest, he had also gone to this kind of Relay City. Therefore, he was very familiar with the rules of this Relay City. Generally speaking, any Relay City would have a powerful force guarding it, or there would be experts guarding in secret. In the Relay City, no one could fight. Even if there was an irreconcilable hatred, no one could fight in the Relay City. This was also the unwritten rule of the Relay City in the Barbarian Demon Forest. He walked slowly, wearing his cloak. He managed to exchange for some elixirs from the stalls on the ground. These spirit herbs still had their roots. It was relatively easy to survive in the mysterious space. He also took out medicinal herbs to trade. However, these medicinal herbs couldn't survive in the mysterious space. There were many people setting up street stalls. There were all kinds of rare items and cultivation resources. However, there were more medicinal herbs. He wasn't stupid. It wasn't easy to find good items in these street stalls. Most of them were shoddy. In addition, if he wanted to find good items, he had to go to a bigger store. Although the price was slightly more expensive, the quality was better. The variety of cultivation resources was also better. After walking around, there were no more items that caught Suyi's eyes. There were weapons and even some martial techniques that were claimed to be peerless secret manuals. Sui could tell that they were all ordinary items at a glance. Lingbao Pavilion. Sui raised his eyes slightly and walked into such a store. In this relay city, it seemed to be the biggest store. The entrance was very imposing. In this remote relay city in the barbarian demon forest, it was unique and very imposing. The interior of the Lingbao Pavilion wasn't small. There were many people shuttling back and forth. There were many adventurers going in and out. Most of these adventurers were here to sell their loot. When they went out, they all had smiles on their faces. Of course, there were also people who were here to buy elixirs and other items. In the Lingbao Pavilion, there was a dazzling array of items. Sui was stunned for a moment. There were all kinds of cultivation resources. There were many rare medicinal herbs. There were also many cultivation techniques, martial techniques, weapons, etc. Sui slowly walked around. He was quite tempted by many things. Chapter 129. Does this place sell spirit herbs? Sui asked a disciple of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. He wanted to sell some of the spirit herbs in his bag in exchange for some things he needed to prepare. Wait a moment. The disciple looked at Sui. Judging from Suyi's appearance and his voice, he didn't seem to be very old. The disciple didn't seem to care much. He guessed that this young, loose cultivator wouldn't be able to take out anything decent. He continued to receive a few other adventurers who were also selling resources. Okay. Sui nodded. He didn't mind and continued to stroll around the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Half an hour later, Sui took advantage of the time when the disciple of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had finished receiving the last group of adventurers and went to ask the disciple of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Wait a moment, the disciple said. He didn't pay too much attention to Sui. I'm in a bit of a hurry. There's no one else. Sui said. He saw that the disciple had already received a few adventurers. He had also waited for a long time. Besides, there was no one else around. I told you to wait, so you wait. Don't you think I need a rest? The disciple looked to be in his 30s. He was at the profound origin realm, but his cultivation level wasn't high. He coldly looked at Sui, and his expression became somewhat impatient. Get out of the way. Line up. I'll go first. 3 burly men stepped forward. Their bodies were at least twice as big as Suyi's, and they were also a head taller. They directly pushed Sui aside. Each of them carried 2 bulging bags and placed them on the counter in front of the disciple. When they opened the bags, they were filled with spirit herbs and all kinds of savage beast materials. Everyone, I came first. Can you all line up? Sui glared at the 3 burly men, and his stubbornness flared up. What? Hiding your head and showing your tail? Are you trying to act all mysterious? Get lost. If we weren't in the relay city, I would have killed you. Among the 3 burly men, the one closest to Sui on the rightmost side looked to be in his 40s. Dressed in tight-fitting clothes, his skin was dark and his eyes were bright. The aura of a cultivation at the second level of the origin spirit stage was faintly discernible as it emanated from him, forcefully enveloping Sui. Boom! This aura caused Sui to tremble uncontrollably, and his legs almost went soft. Boom! The origin energy within Suyi's body surged. The primordial chaos, supreme art circulated within his body. His aura didn't leak out, allowing him to resist this invisible pressure. With your cultivation base, I'm afraid you're not qualified to kill me. If we were outside, you would already be a dead man. Sui stared straight at the burly man. The primordial chaos, supreme art within his body was like an emperor that couldn't be challenged. If not for Su Yi's suppression, it would likely have retaliated. Sensing the aura of the burly man before him, Su Yi really didn't care much. If they were outside, it was hard to say who would be the one to die. However, upon hearing Su Yi's words, the burly man was momentarily stunned, as if he was somewhat astonished. Could it be that he had really encountered an expert? However, from the other party's appearance and that slightly immature voice, he couldn't possibly be that old. His cultivation base shouldn't be that strong either. You're provoking our fire bear gang. Once we leave the relay city, you'll pay the price. The burly man's face instantly darkened as he stared coldly at Su Yi. Once we leave the relay city, you're welcome to find me and pay the price. Su Yi coldly replied, his gaze under the cloak looking straight at the burly man. Swish, swish. Such a commotion immediately attracted the attention of many people within the Lingbao Pavilion. Immediately, with a swish-swish sound, everyone's curious gazes swept over, sizing up Su Yi and the three burly men. At this moment, on the third floor of the Lingbao Pavilion, two figures stood quietly. There were three people, one man and one woman, and the other one was wearing a cloak and a white veil. The man looked to be in his 50s, dressed in ordinary clothes, and half of his black hair was bald. The woman also looked to be in her 50s, dressed in a plain long dress, with her hair combed into a bun. There were faint wrinkles on her face, giving her a slightly benevolent appearance. She quietly stood beside the man wearing a cloak and a white veil. The last one was dressed in a light purple dress, with a light veil over her, which vividly outlined her graceful figure. Her waist-length hair slanted over her soft, boneless waist. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly, it was enough to imagine that under the veil, it was definitely a moving face. At this moment, the three people's gazes also fell on the ground below. If you want to wait, then wait. If you don't want to wait, then leave. The Lingbao Pavilion can't do without you to buy things. In the hall, the disciple of the Lingbao Pavilion coldly glared at Su Yi, then looked at the three burly men and smiled. He warmly smiled at the burly man who was glaring at Su Yi and said, "Brother Sin Xiong, there's no need to lower yourself to the same level as this guy. You've gained a lot this time. Let's do it the old way." The second burly man's gaze swept over Su Yi, and then he looked at the disciple of the Lingbao Pavilion and lowered his voice. "All right, let's do it the old way." The disciple of the Lingbao Pavilion also lowered his voice, and a smile appeared in his eyes. Su Yi looked at the disciple of the Lingbao Pavilion from the side, smiled bitterly, and shook his head. Big stores bully customers. If you don't want to keep me here, there will be other places to keep me. Su Yi smiled bitterly. There was no need to stay. The Lingbao Pavilion wasn't the only business in this city. With that, Su Yi turned and left. San Xiong stared at Su Yi's back and said, "Don't ever let me see you outside the city, or else you'll be dead." Hearing this, Su Yi, who had just turned, stopped and looked back at San Xiong. "I'll return those words to you." With that, Su Yi left without looking back. Outside the city, you'll be dead." San Xiong's eyes were cold, and his fists were clenched. But he was very clear that inside the city, there was no way to fight. This was the rule of the city. Any disputes must be settled outside the city. Deacon Wu, did you hear that? Big stores bully customers. Although this city is small, the Lingbao Pavilion's name is not small. On the third floor of the Lingbao Pavilion, the beautiful woman wearing a white veil and a cloak spoke. Her voice was clear and crisp, but also carried a trace of immaturity. She didn't seem to be very old. "Go cool. #craftsman. Net_D, I didn't use the right people," the old man in his 50s said to the woman. His expression was respectful, but his attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. "It's not your fault. In such a large granary, it's inevitable that there will be some worms that spoil the rice." The woman's voice was faint as she said, "Don't let others think that the Lingbao Pavilion bullies our customers. The achievements and status that we have today are inseparable from the reputation of every customer." "Understood. I'll make the arrangements." The old man saluted, then bowed and left. He walked out of the Lingbao pavilion. This place didn't want to keep him. Big stores bully customers, so he'd just go to another place. Friend, please wait. Chapter 130. He looked back. It was a young man, not even 30 years old. Judging from his clothes, he was also a disciple of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. What's the matter? Seeing that it was a disciple of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, He raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently, "Our manager has invited you. If you have offended him just now, please come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion again to apologize." The young man was very polite as he spoke to Sui. "Forget it. I'm too lazy to go back." Sui shook his head. He no longer had a good impression of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. After speaking, he turned to leave. "Friend, please stay." The young man immediately stepped forward and stopped Sui. He seemed to be secretly puzzled. Just now, the manager of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had invited him. In the entire barbarian demon forest, everyone would be flattered, but this person was actually indifferent. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. Looking at Sui, the young man didn't leave any trace, but his attitude was very sincere. He continued, "Friend, you seem to want to sell something. You should know that in the entire city, the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's price is the highest. Moreover, you are a guest invited by our manager, so the price will definitely be higher. If I can't invite you back, I'm afraid the manager will think that I'm incompetent. So, I hope that you will do me the honor and not make things difficult for me. I thank you very much." He looked at the young man in front of him. His attitude was very sincere. He was a little surprised. After pondering for a while, he nodded and said, "Okay, I really do need to sell something and buy some pills. Friend, please. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion has the most types of pills in the entire city." Seeing this, the young man's eyes suddenly revealed a smile. He immediately led Sui back to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. This time, with the young man leading the way, Sui went up to the second floor under the envious gazes of many people on the first floor. The second floor was a little smaller. Only when he reached the second floor of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion did Sui realize that there was another world on the second floor. The second floor was also filled with a dazzling array of all kinds of cultivation resources. Pills, martial skills, cultivation methods, weapons, armors, medicinal materials, etc. Everything one could think of was there, and the level was much higher than the first floor. Scarlet Fire Bloodling Ji, Snow Jade Spirit Fruit. Sui's gaze swept across the room. Just the number of valuable herbs alone was not small. Sui even saw some herbs that could be used to refine high-tier, celestial-grade pills. The second floor is full of high-class items, only for the important guests of the Lingbao Hall. Our manager will be here soon. Please wait for a moment. The young man brought Sui to a rather luxuriously decorated small hall. After serving tea and snacks, he bowed and left. Sui sized up the small hall. Even in a place like the Barbarian Demon Forest, this place was still so luxurious. It seemed like he had underestimated the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. The Lingbao sect has always treated our guests with the utmost respect. Please forgive us for what just happened. Just as Sui was sizing him up, an old man in his 50s walked into the small hall and looked at Sui. He was dressed in ordinary clothes and half of his head was bald. It's an Origin Void Stage expert. Sui sized up the old man. Suddenly, his gaze moved. This old man looked ordinary, but Sui could feel an invisible and powerful aura behind him. This aura was similar to the Black Fiend sect's Elder Bai and the woman who disguised herself as a man that Sui came in contact with. This was an Origin Void Stage expert. Let me introduce myself. This old man is an ordinary manager of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. My surname is Wu. How should I address you, friend? The old man looked at Sui as if he wanted to spy on him through the mask. However, he did not use his aura to forcefully search him. He was only sizing him up secretly. Manager Wu. Sui nodded in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. This was not the first time he met an Origin Void Stage expert. However, this old man's cultivation was at the origin void stage, yet he was only an ordinary manager of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. This made Su-Yi inwardly shocked. Su-Yi was inwardly shocked. Could it be that the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had other great origins? One must know that Elder Bai and other profound void stage experts were all elders of the Black Fiend sect. Looking at Su-Yi's reaction, which was neither servile nor overbearing, he did not seem to be moved at all. Judging from the voice, it was a young man, but his reaction and composure seemed to be unfathomable. This made Manager Wu inwardly moved. If it were not for special reasons, as a manager, he would not need to show his face to such a customer. This small store of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion was only one of the branches in the area he was patrolling. Today, he encountered such a situation, and there was an important person in the pavilion, so he personally showed up. However, the young man in front of him did not seem to have a big reaction. One must know that anyone in the entire barbaric demon forest would be moved when they heard the words manager of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. What does this friend want to buy? Can you open this old man's eyes? Manager Wu's expression did not reveal anything as he probed. This young man seemed to give him a strange feeling. Look at N+R version I, Chapter 7, Part 1. Manager Wu is being too serious. I'm afraid some unremarkable medicinal herbs and pills would not be able to enter Manager Wu's eyes. Su-Yi smiled faintly. Naturally, these things of his were not worth mentioning in the eyes of an origin void stage expert. He was even a little embarrassed to take them out. However, Su-Yi still opened the bag he was carrying. After all, the people of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion took the initiative to invite him back. Su-Yi's bag was filled with medicinal herbs and other items that he had obtained along the way. Aside from some that he had exchanged outside, the amount was not much, but it was not little either. Of course, the amount of medicinal herbs and other items that Su-Yi had on him was far more than this. The main reason was that Su-Yi was afraid that if he exchanged too much at once, it would attract the attention of others. In addition, Su-Yi also took out some pills that he did not need. He wanted to exchange for some other pills and other items in case he needed them. When Su-Yi opened the bag and saw a pile of medicinal herbs and other items, Manager Wu's eyes, which were originally filled with anticipation, suddenly became calm. They were indeed some unremarkable medicinal herbs. To a cultivator at the origin void realm, they were as unremarkable as they could be. Are these pills? Manager Wu picked up a jade bottle. He did not have much expectation for the medicinal herbs. He opened the jade bottle and poured out some pills. Recovery pill, Earth Shin pill, Spirit Cultivating pill, Tri-Yuan pill. Looking at the recovery pill in his hand, Manager Wu's last bit of expectation disappeared. Recovery pill, Earth Shin pill, Spirit Cultivating pill, and Tri-Yuan pill. Although they were all high-class moon-grade pills, they were already very valuable for Origin Soul Stage and Origin Void Stage experts. However, in front of him, an original Void Stage cultivator and a deacon of the Lingbao Pavilion, these superior moon-grade elixirs were nothing at all. Is that all? Manager Wu said. His last bit of expectation had disappeared. It seemed that this young man was not special at all. These things were not much better than the things that a small team of adventurers could get. Chapter 131. This is the recovery pill, Earth Shin pill, Pei-Yuan pill, Tri-Yuan pill. How could Deacon Wu not notice that the recovery elixir, Earth Profound elixir, Pei-Yuan elixir, Tri-Yuan elixir, and other elixirs were originally moon-grade superior elixirs? However, the elixirs that Deacon Wu saw at this moment were much better than ordinary moon-grade superior elixirs. It would be fine if there's only one pill, but all of the pills, whether it was the Earth Shin pill or the Pei-Yuan pill, were much better than ordinary pills. Friend, where did these pills come from? Deacon Wu looked at Su-Yi, his eyes rippling as if he wanted to see through Su-Yi. Does the Lingbao Pavilion need to know the origin before accepting them? Su-Yi asked indifferently. Cool Z Craftsman Net. The only one original version 04 equals others are all original versions. Looking at Deacon Wu's expression, it was as Su-Yi had expected. After these elixirs were placed in the mysterious space, their value had increased by quite a bit. This time, Su-Yi took out these elixirs to test if their value had increased. That's not it. Deacon Wu's expression returned to normal. He knew that he had lost his composure. The Lingbao Pavilion naturally did not ask about the origin of all kinds of cultivation resources. Even if it was a trading company, they would not ask about the origin of the goods. That's all. Calculate the value. Su-Yi said in a calm voice. The Lingbao Pavilion has a price for these herbs and elixirs. They're definitely the highest in this city. As for these pills, the Lingbao Pavilion can buy them at the original price. They are high-tier Moon Xian pills, 100-star origin stones each. This is my apology to you. Deacon Wu said to Su-Yi. Haha, so there's no one in the Lingbao Pavilion who knows the value of the pills. Forget it, I won't sell them. Su-Yi smiled faintly and was about to put away the pills. Friend, what do you mean? Deacon Wu's expression changed slightly as he asked Su-Yi. Since Attendant Wu can't tell what my medicinal pills are like, then forget it. I'll go ask around. Su-Yi quietly said. Friend, please wait. Hearing this, Deacon Wu's face twitched. Seeing that Su-Yi was about to put away the pills, he immediately stopped him and said, Can you wait for me for a moment? I'll take these pills to a connoisseur, and then we'll decide. How about that? All right. Su-Yi thought for a moment, then nodded. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion was so big, not to mention that this person before him was an Origin Void Stage cultivator. He would not be greedy for these medicinal pills of his. If he appeared to be worried, it would inevitably make others think that he was petty. Please wait a moment. Administrator Wu nodded. He picked up Su-Yi's jade bottles of medicinal pills and left. Deacon Wu, no wonder people say you don't know what's good for you. On the third floor of the Spiritual Treasure Hall, in a small, exquisite hall, a graceful figure with a white veil on her head spoke in a childish voice. Although these medicinal pills are of low grade, this old man has seen them all in his life, so it's hard for me to decide. That's why I brought them here for Fairy to see. It's said that Fairy already has good attainments in alchemy, so you must know more about them than this old man. Deacon Wu was slightly embarrassed. It was not that he could not see the uniqueness of these medicinal pills. They were far superior to ordinary medicinal pills. That's why he said he would buy them at the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's original price, which was equivalent to not making a profit. But Deacon Wu did not expect the young man to be so astute. He could have made the decision, but Fairy happened to be here, so he brought them here for her to see. Indeed, this is what I've seen in my life. It's obviously a high-grade moon-grade medicinal pill, but its level and medicinal strength are comparable to a low-grade star-grade medicinal pill. From what I know, even a fourth-grade alchemist would not be able to refine a high-grade moon-grade medicinal pill to the same level as a low-grade star-grade medicinal pill. There was an unconcealable surprise in the childish voice. She was also an alchemist, so she knew that although the grade of these medicinal pills was not high, even a fourth-grade alchemist would not be able to refine such medicinal strength. Could that person be a high-grade alchemist? But it doesn't sound like it. Moreover, a fourth-grade alchemist would not only take out such little things. Deacon Wu was shocked when he heard Fairy's evaluation. What kind of existence was a fourth-grade alchemist? Alchemists and blacksmiths were divided into 7 grades from the 1st grade to the 7th grade. However, the status of a grade 1 pill refiner and alchemist was probably even higher than that of an essence spirit stage practitioner. Wherever they went, they would be treated as distinguished guests. A 2nd grade alchemist status was even higher. A 4th grade alchemist status was much higher than an Origin Void Realm cultivators. A 4th grade alchemist side was enough to have a large group of Origin Emperor Realm cultivators following him. These medicinal pills are not of the same type, nor are they of the same type. All of them are of a higher grade than normal. This proves that they were refined by only one alchemist, Fairy said. She paused for a moment, then continued. There are 2 possibilities. Perhaps this person is truly a high-grade alchemist and came here for some unknown reason. The other possibility is that if this person is truly a young man, then there is definitely a high-grade alchemist behind him. In that case, this person might have intentionally hidden his identity. If he is truly a young man, then it is extremely likely that he is the disciple of a fourth-grade alchemist, Deacon Wu said. I have never seen a medicinal pill with such medicinal strength. In my opinion, even a fourth-grade alchemist might not be able to refine such an effect, the plain-clothed woman who had not spoken until now said. Senior Sister Mo is correct, Fairy said with a faint smile in her voice. Regardless of the grade of the alchemist who refined these medicinal pills, it can be confirmed that the alchemist who refined these medicinal pills is definitely not simple. Fairy, what should we do now? Deacon Wu asked. No matter if he is a high-grade alchemist himself, or if there's a high-grade alchemist behind him, since he has chosen to conceal his appearance, then he naturally does not wish to be disturbed and recognized. However, such an existence is worthy of our Spirit Treasures Pavilion's friendship. If we form good karma today, we will reap good karma in the future, Fairy said. Fairy's words are extremely true. Deacon Wu nodded. Fairy's gaze under the veil looked at Deacon Wu. Then, with a trace of coldness, she said, the parasites in this branch should be dealt with. Yes. Deacon Wu nodded with a serious expression. Deacon Wu was very clear that although this fairy was young, she had quite a reputation in the entire Spirit Treasures Pavilion. She naturally had her own methods. Friend, I have made you wait for a long time. These medicinal pills are not simple. My Spirit Treasures Pavilion is willing to purchase all of these medicinal pills at 10 times the original price. What do you think? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.